And then, boom. All right. Temporary intro, everybody.
Yes.
Last minute.
You live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, Kentucky, Louisville, to be specific. Hello, everyone, my name is Brian Engelman, and welcome to the Agree to Disagree show here on the TNAM network, because the news always matters. Thanks for joining us here with the New American Media. We appreciate you, we love you, etc., etc., etc. Joining me today is Blake, the ghost from Christmas present, Wally.
Great. How you doing, Brian and Stephanie? It's great to be here. Crazy day of news. Looking forward to covering all the wacky topics out there.
Heck yes. Stephanie, how are things with you?
Everything's great. It's another sunny day in Arizona. We had a really bad rain. There was a ton of snow up north, so that never happens out here. So yeah, just another typical day in paradise.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's been rainy here. Blake, are you getting the rain down there?
Yeah, it rained kind of through here last night, so it was probably good. It was blowing north, which is also a plus from all that Ohio disaster. Don't want that leaking down here to Tennessee.
Yeah, so awful. You know, it's like it reminds me of, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the best scenario to describe this. So maybe you have siblings, or maybe you're together at Christmas or Thanksgiving with a bunch of relatives, and somebody lets out just a raunchy fart, and you're there, you're in the room, and you just need to get away from this situation. Like, Ohio just let out this massive fart thanks to Mike DeWine. Instead of just collecting the liquid that's spilling, he goes, no, let's light it. Let's light the Bic and light the fart on fire like a flamethrower. So yeah, now it's like the whole room is kind of being populated with this awful thing, and you want it to you want the window's open, and you want it blowing the opposite direction, right? That's kind of what you're getting at, Blake, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Except, yeah, unfortunately, the fart does not bring acid rain and
Death.
just kill livestock or anything like that. But
maybe you didn't know the guys I played football with, or some of the guys I was roommates with in college, but I assure you some of these could have ended in death, but I digress. I'm actually getting the water. The water's coming right down the Ohio River, right into Louisville. So, I mean, it's coming for me, man. You know, so like, how much bottled water should I be drinking, guys? Because that's what's going on right now. They're not. Well, here, let's jump to a topic, shall we? And then we'll discuss this.
Yeah, new title stingers.
That was a quick one. I didn't even see it. Was it good?
Yeah, it was cool. You know it again. I mean, that's weird that you didn't see it. Your internet's way better than mine. I thought.
Well, no, but I was switching to captions, and I'm trying to find. I'm like, where's the environmental disaster thing? Here, let's see one more time. Okay.
Yeah,
Quick one. That was a quick hit. Got it. Well, here's the topic. You know, we're talking about this. Let's jump into it. These American environmental disasters appear to be intentional. Stephanie, do you agree or disagree that these American environmental disasters appear to be intentional?
It's definitely weird with the more information that's coming out about this disaster. And it's just, one thing after another, contamination, and it's like, what's the agenda here? So I'm leaning actually more towards intentional. I don't know what the gain is here. A foreign nation attacking us, or what's going on, like control. Like, it could be China, it could be Russia, maybe that's them. They're not happy that they're at the losing end of this war. And even one of the generals recently said that Russia basically lost the war to Ukraine won in every format. So who knows?
Yeah, I posed that question on my Facebook page. You remember my Facebook profile where they called me an adult sexual, what did they say? Exploiter? Because I shared a Hunter Biden meme and his tighty whities standing there with
Yep.
balloons in his hand. But yeah, I kind of posed that same question to my Facebook piece. I'm like, what if this is just an attack, just like that Nord Stream pipeline? I mean, these guys, people like Biden, they've gotten away with their shit for so long. They think they're bulletproof. And I mean, it's a great time to like finally bring justice to some people when they get this cocky about stuff. I mean, he's out there bragging about, hey, I'm withholding this money until you drop this prosecutor in Ukraine, since we overthrew your country in 14 or 16 with Barack Obama. It's like he's bragging about the quid pro quo stuff. Their whole administration is bragging about blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. Oh, we assure you, wink, wink, that pipeline is not going to be functional. I mean, Seymour Hersh is writing about it. So, you know, there's a hubris that can be used against them. So I think that might be one of our only saving graces here as we're trying to figure this mess out. Blake, what say you? I mean, this isn't Blake, where'd you go?
Yeah, the little internet, probably the big fart cloud interfered with my satellite.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, I spun you over here. I kind of like this. If we go to the person who's doing the main diatribe, main rant of the moment, maybe they get the big screen and shuffle it around. I'm playing with the tools, the technology. I like being quarterback. I like driving this bus. It's pretty fun. But now I'm not just talking environmental disasters like the Ohio. A couple of trains went off track. You know what? This seems to be super highly toxic. Burn it! Like, what a stupid idea. Like, I could, like, Mike DeWine. But I'm not just talking about this one. I'm talking about all of these livestock, the chicken factories, the food processing plants, the power grids being taken pot shots. This is a regular occurrence that we are being attacked at all of our crucial points here, Blake. I mean, is there any doubt in your mind that this is anything but intentional? I'm assuming you would disagree that this is accidental or coincidental. I think you're on the intentional frame of things, right?
I'm going to run with that for now because I don't believe it's a coincidence. And that is some really great farmland out there as well. And I know that the Chinese and Bill Gates are buying up, huge swaths of farmland everywhere. But he was not affected. It wasn't like he was coming out going, oh, gee, guys, this is a terrible environmental catastrophe. My beautiful farmland that I wanted to grow, I don't know, crickets and GMO foods for everybody. So maybe that's part of it. And they've run the Dutch farmers out in the Netherlands. Tax on the food supply. I think they want to reduce the population and get us dependent on the globalists for everything. So I do, until I see otherwise. This was the timing and where it's at on the top of the Ohio River there. I think there's something sinister behind all of this, and the way that the Biden administration's been silent. Little Pete Buttigieg's not doing anything. So I'm gonna say it's real. They're declaring war on us, and this is their part of their globalist endgame agenda. Prove me wrong. I don't know.
It's so
Go ahead.
weird because it's like, I mean, if you want to take over a company, I can understand wanting to weaken it, but like when you're weakening it to the point of like killing the people that work there and taking over all the crucial infrastructure by blowing things up, like at what point are you just destroying the thing that you're trying to take over? Like the part of me is going like, I can't keep going down this path, but then I just remind myself what they did during COVID. I mean, everything, it was just the perfect Rahm Emanuel, famously with the Obama administration and then over in Chicago. Never waste the opportunity to take advantage of a crisis. And look, that's politics 101. Yep. Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste or something like that. It's been, I forget exactly how it was phrased, but I get it. It's politics 101. It's a little similar to the Project Veritas story. When it came out, like, oh, we're modifying viruses. I'm like, well, that's exactly what pharmaceutical companies do. You're trying to find the variants, and that's exactly why we're mad at you, because look what you did to us by releasing this shit in Wuhan. But they cover that. They just try to suppress the story of where it came from to think like a few years later we're just going to absolve them of their sins. Like, no. You did this. This is why you don't have level 3 bioweapon. This is why you're not supposed to be changing the viruses. Like, we talked about this. We wrote it down. We said no. And you did it anyway, and you set off a pandemic, either intentionally or accidentally. Either way, so like part of me, I'm not surprised at the Veritas video because I know they're doing it. So like, I understand that if there's a So who are the bad guys? I know this is a topic we're not allowed to talk about. God almighty, this is a topic we're not allowed to talk about, especially if we sell shoes or make music, for example. But anyway, imagine a cabal of a very small group of very wealthy, powerful people. Is that a good place? Can we agree that that might be who the group would theoretically be that's trying to take over the country? Is that a fair starting
world?
point?
They've already got the world. If they can get the United States to fall, and the whole world is in their hands.
Is that, Stephanie? That's an easy way to describe that. That's a place you could agree with. I'm not being specific. I'm not saying these 7 people. I'm not saying this society. I'm not saying that country. I'm not saying that religion. I'm just saying it's a group of people that want to dominate everything. That's fair.
Yes, absolutely. Because we don't even know for sure, and there could be multiple things happening at the same time. So that's probably the most accurate way to put it.
And God, there's probably so much of that going on. I mean, don't tell me that BLM has the same exact agenda as Bill Gates. Don't tell me that Antifa has the exact ideas in. You know, you go back into history and you look at like the biggest mass murderers. They always had their useful idiots. You know, you don't have to agree on all of the things. You just kind of use them when it's appropriate, and you go from there. But I'm just wondering, like, if there's a small group of people that are trying to dominate and take control of everything, like, at what point does the damage done to the thing you're trying to take over supersede what you're trying to accomplish? Does that question make sense? Like, that's kind of what I'm positing out there. Floor is open to either of you.
Yeah, they definitely have the useful idiot army to carry out whatever orders, and they follow that. So they just blindly go along. It's good to have their own little foot soldiers to get things done that they can't do running the media or what have you. So yeah, they can just create chaos. That George Soros has gotten that, or he's bought the prosecutors. It's very intense times that we're living in right now. And hello, Dave and Dr. Jekyll. Good to see you guys. Welcome.
Yeah, so Stephanie, imagine you're taking over a country. You're trying to overthrow, right? And like to run the globe, you got to knock America down a few pegs. And that was the Barack Obama policy to a T. It was everywhere else is great. This country's got so much stain and sin. And why are we living so high on the hog? We need to send our money elsewhere. And we need to bring ourselves down a few pegs. And, that's exactly what his agenda was. And that's really who's pulling the puppet strings of this Weekend at Bernie's administration anyway. But I mean, if you're trying to take over the big dog so that you can run the world, do you think there's any length that you wouldn't go to if you were a bad guy to that was scheming this, like poisoning the air, poisoning the water, really destroying all the food? I'm just wrestling with this mentally. What say you?
I would do anything what it takes. If I was Russia, look at us. I mean, we bombed a country before. You imagine if another country did that to us. They probably had tried, but it can't happen. Our defense is always better, but they could attack us through fentanyl. They could attack us through social media, TikTok. They could attack us through contamination of our country. And we got a lot of pissed off countries right now, and especially Russia is one of them.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the American government operated where you needed congressional approval to engage in acts of war. I mean, there's no other way to define what we're doing by sending all of the money that we're sending to Ukraine, openly bragging about blowing up a Nord Stream pipeline. I mean, if Blake, you're a student of history, like, is there no check or balance that can put this administration into line with needing congressional approval to put us in a position where we've declared war on a country despite not declaring war on them? And there's all of these things happening over the past couple of years, and you're going, okay, there can be a couple of accidental fires, a couple of power grid issues, a couple of environmental disasters, but when they start stacking up past 10, past 15, past 20, past 25, you just go, it sure feels like somebody's getting us back and we're in a kinetic war that we're just not talking about. Is there no remedy for this nation, Blake? Like, am I representing it right that the president is supposed to need congressional approval to launch us into some bullshit war with a nuclear power?
Yeah, well, they are. That's the way it's supposed to do it. Is they found ways around that by doing these proxy wars, or funding moderate rebels or what have you. So in this case, they're just sending all these billions of dollars, over $100 billion to Ukraine, plus tons of weapons, or having them sent through NATO into Ukraine, and to fight the war against the Russians that we don't want to do. That's not going to be popular. And then they tried, and we know without the United States admitting it, it's pretty much obvious that the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipelines, tried to blame it on Russia. I guess that's to get Western Europe and the United States
blaming it on Russia. It's the same like all these fake impeachment hoaxes. It's being run by the Obama, Biden, Clinton Democrats. They have not stopped trying to blame Russia for things that aren't happening for 5, 10, 15, 20. Like, how far back do we have to go to just? It's all a lie. And I thought you touched on something really good there. I was wondering if you might be able to expand. Moderate rebels. Because this is the Barack Obama playbook. This is who is controlling this administration. Weekend at Bernie's, barely hanging on this clown, Biden. And it's exactly what they did. Can you talk about funding these moderate rebels? I know it's not just a Democrat thing per se, because Republicans have as well. But, I don't know where you would start. You think of Obama in Northern Africa. I guess we're going to talk about, like, ISIS and McCain. Like, can you expand on that? Because I think that's a really important point, that this is how we are engaged in battle. So we better wake up to it, because it's right in front of us. Just talk about it.
Right. So if we're not going to get the American people to sign off on a war and get congressional approval, you can just, give weapons to one faction to overthrow, your perceived enemy, whether it's, Syria or Gaddafi in Libya or what have you. And that's kind of the way that they've been running these things, because it's disastrous in Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction. People weren't happy about that. We've gone into serious debt, or Afghanistan that we were holding there forever. So that's the new playbook. Now, I don't consider, Ukraine is not moderate rebels, but there are the Azov Nazi battalion, and they're not being upfront about that. So we are funding basically terrorists to go after Russia, because Putin's the ultimate bad guy, or at least that's what they want us to believe. So it's pretty nasty. Actually, I did see a article that broke just about an hour ago off Gateway Pundit from Mitch McConnell, the old from the Senate. And what did he say? Let me pull this line up. Let's see if I can find this. Mitch McConnell says defeating Russia in Ukraine is the single most important event going on in the world right now. So we basically had the blank check to Ukraine. I want to disagree a little with Stephanie there. I think Russia is winning this war very easily. Ukraine is in a lot of trouble, and they're running out of troops. They're trying to get people from NATO. They keep sending more money, more weapons. Nothing's happening. Russia's building up a huge army, is not taking the kind of losses. I don't know if I trust the Milley, the generals, trying to say that we are winning. I don't see that. And I think what also I'm hearing is that people are mad that Putin's not doing enough. That he's been very cautious about his invasion of Ukraine, and that it could be far worse, and that it's going to continue to escalate if they don't back off. But it just shows that there's no signs that they're going to do that, especially with this latest comment from McConnell.
So you're saying that there's a contingent, Blake, that in Russia that is getting annoyed that we haven't crushed the bug running around the house yet.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, just give it to Kiev. They don't like that there's war crimes being committed against Russia. They don't like what's happening to the people in the Donbass and the East. And
I mean, the Ukraine, like that Azov battalion, they're literal
yeah, they're
N
neo-Nazis.
words, right? The NZ,
Yes,
you can't say that, right? You can't say that one word, but you can't say there's two N words that are forbidden on YouTube. Isn't that interesting?
Well, one is for obvious reasons. The other one they use pejoratively towards.
What's obvious? They're not obvious.
People like Trump.
They're not obvious reasons to me. I cannot click on a link watching two basketball players talking about who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, without hearing one of those words about 75 times. I didn't ask for it. I can't avoid it. So that word is obviously fair game sometimes. And then the other word is talking about something historical that we should be able to mention by name. It's like Voldemort in Harry Potter. You may not mention him by name. The man who shall not be named. It's like you can't say the NZ word. I don't know why, but that's a thing.
Depends on who you're saying it to. I think you can say it.
Because I thought that was one of the things that will always get your YouTube demonetized and flagged and shadow banned and censored and restricted.
I don't know if that's one of them. You don't want to talk about the election integrity. You don't want to say.
Oh, you mean the most fair and honest election every time a Democrat wins?
Oh yeah, no, that's fair game. That's fine. Yeah,
that's the only time it's fair and
yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Above board, because they all talk about it being rigged when they lose, though.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. It was Russia's fault.
Yeah, right. Russia, of course. Like these liars. I just like we're not children.
No, we are, because people believe it, and they still continue to believe it. Believe the propaganda, and they're just watching their reality TV. They don't know what's going on, and then we get frustrated because we're trying to do the media's job for them, and we get marginalized, censored, ignored, shunned, scorned.
You mentioned the proxy wars.
Yep.
Over in northern Africa. I just want to refresh you on this quick gem, if I may.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed. We came, we saw, we died. Did it have anything to do with it?
Can you guys hear it?
I'm sure it did.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I can't hear it on my side. I'm having a problem with my playback. Interesting.
This would be us on our dream.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, they're
playing a real
favorite McDonald's.
I don't know. I tried to buy a real computer, but it didn't need ports on it. The new Mac have no ports. They have like a USB-C, and then you got to buy this big clunky mechanism to get all of your USB ports, your microphone jacks, your card reader. Nothing comes on. I'm like, this is trash. I took it back.
It's horrible.
30 days. I took it right back. I'm like, this adapter you sold me doesn't fit this thing. It sucks. I want my money back. And I was actually like 31 days past their 30-day policy. Like, I had to get a manager involved. I got refunded, but I tried to upgrade, but Mac downgraded. That's not on me. But anyway, that's
Come on, you gotta get a real PC with some muscle. I like my MacBook too. It's only got the 2 Thunderbolt ports. It's a great machine. I enjoy it. But I just went to Costco, got a real PC machine with 32 gigs of RAM, all the ports I want. We got to get you something like that, Brian. Get you set up with the real machine here. You can still keep the laptop. I like my Mac. I'm going to keep that around too. But that was frustrating trying to run, all the operations out of, I got 2 connections, one for the microphone, one for the power. Yeah, it is pretty frustrating. There's not enough room. And I got to pay twice as much for it. But pros and cons.
Stephanie, weigh in on the computer talk. I saw you ready to jump in at least once or twice. You're like,
Yeah, I was watching some videos of Mr. Beast last night, and he made a great point. He's like, iPhone or Android? And he immediately said iPhone. And right afterwards, he's like, Android's better, just what everybody says. And he's like, okay, who's the creator of Android? And not a lot of people even know the creator of Android, but Steve Jobs. So Me, I have an iMac, and I love Apple. I mean, all these companies, they're all doing the same thing, so it's all slave work. You can't escape it, So, but it is a pain in the ass with Apple. Like when I got the newest iPhone, it doesn't even come with a charger, and the connection is the same as the Apple Watch. So you have to get these converters. The thing is, it's not that they didn't downgrade; they upgraded their bank account. They want to make more billions of dollars by them not having that charger with the iPhone, so they could get an extra $30.
Yeah, Apple's got a problem without Steve Jobs, and they're not coming up with any crazy new innovation. So I do like the iPhone better than the Android.
And the camera's better on the Google phone. I mean, oh my God, it looks like you could take a picture, looks like something out of a telescope. With the newest iPhones, it looks all fuzzy, but with Google, it's amazing. But, it's more of a sentimental thing, There's something better out there, but, it's sometimes you just become attached to things.
Yeah, I was not a fan of getting this this new phone. Once again, they changed their friggin' jacks, and I've had problems because I would have earbuds. I don't like the wireless earbuds. I think I think there's a danger in frequency and keeping that stuff in your skull for too long. I'm not a big fan. So I like the wired headphones. Hence what I'm rocking right here. But the new phone that I got, it's a USB-C on the Galaxy, and that's also how you plug in your earbuds, because one of my old phones failed where the jack wouldn't sit in there right because it had wobbled around in my pocket while I mowed the grass for too long. And so I don't want the same port for the same thing. Now, I'll tell you what's awesome. I love this Mac. I love this laptop. I love the little charger. It's magnetic. They got rid of that on the new laptops. Like, you guys have moved backward in design. You've literally made everything you've been doing worse. Your plugs and ports suck. Your charging mechanism sucks. You suck. I'm out of here. And I left after I got my refund. But I tried to give him a chance. No, Blake, I'm open to it. I'm looking here. You guys might not believe me if I might be able to no, I'm too plugged in. If I had something I could show you, but this is a bit of a graveyard of CPUs. In that room right there, I have oh my God, how long ago that one was. 1 or 2 CPUs there, and then I have 3 and 4. I have my 5th CPU here. This is like my entire college career. Like, yep. I've been collecting one of everything. Every 5 years, I get a computer or something.
Yeah, well, you're due now for some upgrade.
I tried to get the laptop, but all right, maybe I'll try another way. I want to know, Blake, referencing that question that was up on the chat room. Do you happen to catch that one?
It was up. It was just it was covering everyone's face. So I knew you got this set up kind of weird. Yeah, Stephanie was talking, and that whole caption was covering her whole face. So I'm trying to move it out of the way. Sorry, I did move it. MJ Sedona's on fire. She's got some great commentary, but I'm not sure which one that was now. Because I think it was right here. According to Ukrainian government, this one. Was this the one?
Well, yeah, there's that, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. This other person, Herrick v. Herrick, is shit, it's hard to grab the chat. How do I navigate this? Oh, I guess that's probably
gotta go to the chat and hit the button. Yeah.
No, just the navigation, the little scrolling bar. This person seems to be upset about something. They're saying otherwise, though, what incredible nonsense I'm hearing here. Being the only present viewer and is so much maybe lost but not surprised. All right, so this person is lost by our conversation. I don't know if we wanted to clarify a little bit.
Where did we go? We were talking about Ukraine and Russia and train derailments, and then we went into Apple, Samsung, computer stuff. I'm not sure. We're on multiple channels, so I don't know where they're coming from. Welcome, Herrick. I don't know if he's from the Next Level News or my channel or from Brian's channel. So I'm not sure what the reference is. I think we lost it.
Scrolling past me, I was just trying to make sense. I believe they might disagree with our take on the Ukrainian situation, the undeclared aggressive military conflict that we are as stoked as Hillary Clinton. Hang on, just one more time for shits and giggles. This is the mentality of the people who have seized control of the United States. They do not speak for me, by the way. Oh, I closed the damn thing.
It's all right. We already got it. Yeah, we came, we saw, he died. I
cackling
gotcha.
and giggling
Run our
about
wars.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
this doesn't represent the people of the United States. There's a large contingent of people in this country that don't believe the people who currently have seized control have the right to be there. That being said, show me where the people have backed this military conflict. Undeclared war. I don't know. Are you taking any precaution? Here's a great question. Are you taking any measures to prepare yourself? Let's imagine that we are in a kinetic war. Like it is a cold war. It's a hot war. It's a wet war. There's different phrases you could use for being halfway in, halfway out of the swimming pool. I'm partially pregnant. Whatever you want to say about it. Are you taking any precautions in case your water supply is destroyed, in case the food is ruined, in case the internet goes down? Because I think this is something we need to discuss. Stephanie, what say you over there in Arizona in an arid climate?
Well, you definitely can't escape the heat, and especially if something like that went on, you don't want to go far. You just want to go to safety and get out of the city. Everybody's going to be like killing each other, fighting over food, water. That's going to be the new gold. So I would say one of the ways I've been preparing, because I've always been in this mentality since I was a young kid, it's having books, like having the Farmer's Almanac. Like if you are going to have to start growing things with seeds, like I have a backpack of every kind of seed that would thrive out here in Arizona for food. So I have the seeds, Farmer's Almanac. I always have like a ton of water, always on deck, doesn't go bad. Get big, like pounds of rice and beans. I mean, if you had to live off that, hey, that really lasts a long time, just having a pound. I mean, a lot of these people we were doing it like during COVID. Remember, they said, oh, only 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 3-4 years. And still going on in some parts of the country. I mean, China's just barely lifting their restrictions, but it's still very antsy out there. So I would just go with the basics like that, and just also find people that you could trust, like a friend or something, because you definitely don't want to go at it alone. Like if you share your ammo, share your guns. Guns definitely so important. Bullets, but I'm pretty good on bullets. But if you're not, I would definitely stock up on that, because if you don't have a bullet and gun, somebody else is going to take your food supply. If it ever got that bad, but who knows?
And it's so interesting to think about just how quickly your water supply could turn to poison. Because we are downstream right here on Louisville. Louisville is on the Ohio River, sucking up this gross, disgusting fart at Thanksgiving. I don't know, mixing metaphors, obviously, again, but it's poisoned. And you used to think you had a water supply, you could just open up the spigot and get some water, turn your faucet on and you're good to go. But sadly, that's not the reality sometimes. And for any number of reasons, we could find ourselves in that position where the creature comforts like heat and air conditioning and power and water and sanitation, everything can get thrown off in a split second. So, I mean, Blake, what say you on this front? I mean, I've learned that my water is untrustworthy. How concerned am I supposed to be? I don't know. I'm drinking bottled water sometimes, not every time, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not being more diligent. So I mean, it's just however prepared we are, kaboom. There's any number of wild cards in the deck that you could turn over, and just everything changes that day moving forward. And those people in Ohio are dealing with that. People in Pennsylvania are dealing with that. All these places. So, I mean, what say you? What's a good use of your time to kind of make sure, other than escaping Los Angeles, which we did, by the way? High five. High five.
High five.
Yeah.
You guys copied Joe Rogan. You're like, oh, Joe Rogan did it. I'm going to do it too.
Wait, he high fives people on the show? It's pretty lame, actually.
No, leaving LA.
I haven't watched Rogan since he left YouTube. I just that's kind of where I consume all my content. I'll try to change that. But here's the thing. I was outside mowing my lawn after having moved to LA. Blake was still there. There was an overlap. I was kind of there but not there as I was in Louisville. And then COVID and everything hit. So yeah, I remember where I was at. I remember I was mowing the lawn. Today's an episode about me mowing my lawn. And this is brought to you by Scott's Turf Builder. No, not yet. But I remember mowing the grass that day, and Rogan finally gave up the ghost. And he's like, I'm out. Peace. I'm leaving Los Angeles. And like, that's already the path I was on. I was mowing the grass at a house that I bought to get the hell out of Los Angeles. Like, it was a process, but yeah, I think Adam Carolla officially threw in the towel too, right? I don't know if I heard that I did hear that because he got rid of Gina Grad and Bald Bryan, and I think he said he's leaving Los Angeles. He's done. He's out. I don't know if he's out of California. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I think he said that too. But yeah, getting the hell out of cities is probably the most important thing we could do. And Blake, you did that. What else have you been doing?
Well, yeah, you got out of the city because I lost all my jobs. I had like 11 different gigs, and I was doing all kinds of stuff in LA, and I had just gotten hired to work at the tallest building in LA, the OUE Sky Center, or the US Bank Tower, 69th floor. That was a cool gig for a couple of weeks until they shut it down. Then I had no reason to stay there. So I wasn't making any money. It was expensive, and the place was going to hell, so it wasn't. It lost all the fun. So I could be masked up. So it was an easy way for me to go. I did end up in Middle Tennessee, which is where I am now. Now, I really do miss having an RV so I could go bail out if I need to. But now that I'm here, I'm only, renting month to month. So I'm not, tied in yet. Interested in perhaps getting some real estate at some point. Now it kind of depends. I think I'm a little downwind, but I'm still in that geographical area of the Ohio River Valley, so it could come leaking down this way. But I kind of like it. It seems like the government here's got its shit together. It seems like a reasonably safe spot. So I'll stay put, but I'm not tied down. So I could always bail, but we'll see. So hopefully this won't be as bad as people think it is, because it could be a serious ecological disaster. So.
Yeah, no matter how prepared we are. Oh, wait, hold on. I was doing this one first. I was going to discuss it.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Grab it next. Yeah, we're both kind of grabbing the wheel here. Two cooks in the kitchen. Let me see.
Yep.
How do I say this? MJ Sedona. Okay.
Yes.
He or she? You said it's a she?
Yeah, I don't know exactly her name. We'll just say Mary Jane from Sedona, Arizona. How's that?
Oh, we should not assume anybody's gender or proclivities these days. How dare I?
No, she's one of us.
Me.
I think she'll be okay. All right.
She said she left Long Beach, but she still has property there, and it worries her that when they pulled out all the oil, the city started to sink. Okay, so you're saying they started drilling like crazy in Long Beach. They ripped all the oil out of there. I was talking with Stephanie about this because she's over in Arizona, and they said Jerome, Arizona is on an eggshell. They've taken all of the copper out, and it's just an eggshell crust. It's empty on the inside. You should get the hell out of Jerome. And she's like, it's not that bad. I go, I don't know. It could be that bad. I don't know. What's the risk to me by not participating? Almost zero. What's the risk to participating? More than zero. Ding. So she's saying they pulled all the oil out. Now the city started to sink. So then they pumped seawater in there. If they ever have an earthquake and liquefaction. Yeah, man. I'm eternally grateful. In some ways. I'm much like Blake. I deeply regret. If you want to pull that other quote up, Blake, I don't know which one you're going for. I deeply regret having to leave Los Angeles, and there was a lot of opportunity there. There was a lot of connection. There was a lot of energy, but that's also a bad thing. Eventually, I just had to look at all of the pros, the nice weather. There were a lot of things. and just being so near to so many cities, whether it's San Diego or Vegas or San Francisco or the Inland Empire. You go up in the mountains, you can go skiing, you hit the desert. Like, it was just cool to be that close to all of those things. But yeah, at some point, it just became clearly obvious to me that the crime, it was not safe. It was not a safe place to be. It's a place where deviants and demons were running rampant, and even the ones that were getting apprehended were just getting dumped back on the street the next day. The only thing that was going to work was Western justice. The gangs were calling hits on the junkies that were messing with grandma's place. Like, I was living in a cuckoo clock, folks. You know, like, there's nothing that's worth that loss of peace of mind. And how could you live in a world like that and not have it negatively impact you? So, I mean, this was all coinciding with the plateau I hit around 2017 after the election. I explained it to Blake. I really felt like we were battling something demonic in 2015, 2016. And taking a moment away from that was a helpful thing. So yeah, I just, as prepared as I am, I look around and go, well, shit. What about the water now? I got to sign up for one of those things that bring you a jug? Well, where are they getting the jug from? Are they just filling it up from the tap water that's pulling it out of the Ohio? It's like, no, I got to become a damn water expert. I don't know. We're never going to be perfect at this, but I think if we've all gotten to a place that's at least moderately depopulated, with some neighbors that might think similarly and you might be able to rely upon in case of a disaster. Yeah, I think these are crucial things that every American should be doing. If you're just now starting, good Lord, you are so far behind. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm not where I want to be, where I need to be. But okay, welcome to the party. Get going. Get out of the cities. Get to somewhere with people who are kind of like you. If they're a little bit normal, get away from the crazy.
A little bit normal.
Nobody's completely normal, but you know, I'll take 40% normal if the other people are 10% normal. That's a win. What's this one, Blake? What's this comment here? What did you pull up?
All right. Well, it's been on the show with Mike Barra before. He's a really interesting character. He's a good guy. He's prominent. He's got a YouTube channel. He was just on with David Nino Rodriguez and Laura Eisenhower, and he was talking about, I didn't watch the whole interview, but he was there saying that the UFOs belong to the deep state, and he's like the real life kind of Agent Mulder, I guess, or he used to be in the FBI and do the paranormal UFO stuff, and he's shown some interesting cases of some of the few examples where there does look like they're extraterrestrials, but in this case, he's suggesting that the UFOs that we're seeing the last week belong to the deep state, and they're silver bullets creating an EMP event, and we've got about a month. So
that sounds about right.
Can't confirm that, but yeah, that would certainly shut our civilization down. So not good. So welcome to the
I'm just letting that sink in. I'm just letting that sink in because that's exactly where my head's been at. Have you guys both read the book 1 Second After?
No.
I know about it, but yeah, for another time, Brian. Yes, I gotcha. I know it's where the world is ending, and there's the EMPs and
3.
It might be happening whether we like it or not. There could be a solar flare that takes us to the Stone Age. So that's coming.
Takes 3 strategically placed,
yeah,
nuclear blasts that would create an electromagnetic pulse that would shut down the entire grid of the entire country for the invasion.
Yeah. So that's all is in the cards. So they got to take down the United States somehow, whether it's poisoning us or controlling us, or it's got to take our guns away, have enough mass shootings where people are going to get outraged, get us enough forced vaccines or what have you, whatever it takes to beat us down. They'll take it over. And if not, yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll set off an EMP. I don't know.
Well, Jocelyn here, that's who MJ is. She says, yes. I'm Jocelyn. You might have met me at the UFO conferences. She gives buttons away as souvenirs. If you have a button, we've met. So I don't even know. I got to go check my box full of contact and the desert stuff. when I was hanging out with Giorgio Tsoukalos and Eric von Daniken. Eric thought I was a little weird, but I thought he was a little weird, so we were even. But Jocelyn is saying here 10 million people will be affected by the Ohio disaster. Well, crap. Yeah, I don't know. Hooray. Frankie here is saying that how many people are going to be affected? Solar flare. Okay, so they're saying we got 11 years. Am I doing math right? I don't even know what year we're in.
Well, according to the suspicious observers, I think he's thinking we're due for the magnetic excursion of the solar micronova, probably early 2040s. But anytime before then, you could see a massive solar flare. Since the magnetic field of the Earth is weakening, like just a minor solar flare that usually gets absorbed will actually be enough to take the power grid down and send Earth back to the Stone Age. So that's pretty alarming stuff that could happen. Yeah, anytime before the main event, which could be early 2040s, and then that's going to be the Great Reset that happens, I guess, like every about 12,000 years or so on the planet and the rest of the solar system as well. And so we become the new Atlantis. And so people will wonder thousands of years from now about the ancient civilizations of the past, and will be that. Yeah, the old United States Empire. I don't know what kind of records will still be around. The Earth really absorbs a lot of stuff by then in 1,000 years. So I don't know. Well, it looks like we could be heading that direction. Hopefully it doesn't, but we've got lots of proof on the Earth and geological evidence that suggests that these things do occur more frequently than we think. We just don't live long enough to really appreciate things on this geologic time. So,
and this is a topic you're interested in as well, isn't it, Stephanie?
Are you talking to me, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you went. Can you repeat
Yep.
that? I didn't hear you. You kind
So
of went out.
Now,
do you believe too?
this topic in general, you guys can hear me again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You go.
Okay. This topic in general, it's something you're interested in, right? Like, do you have anything to add to what Blake was saying about, maybe there's a historical record here. I mean, ancient civilizations, what we think we know, the technology we may have used to have, how we got here in the first place. What are these beings descending from the heavens and flaming chariots? Wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm definitely 100% confident about is that we definitely have been destroyed many, many, many times over. With the Ice Age, from like the dinosaurs to asteroids, from all of that. I mean, like, if it has taken this long where civilization has gone where we have like iPhones and, we're going to the moon, and then have that all wiped out, and then you start again from ground zero. I mean, really the stuff that, you see on these shows, like showing like Puma Punka and like, how did they like cut this rock? It just shows there was some smart civilization out here, and it's definitely going to happen again. I mean, how can it not happen again? We can't control an asteroid. It's like that movie, Don't Look Up, and the end of the movie, spoiler alert, it's the asteroid does hit Earth and everybody dies, and there's just nothing you could do about it. And then another thing what's so fascinating, talking through a God aspect, we would typically get hit by a lot more asteroids, but what really prevents it in our solar system is the planet Jupiter, because Jupiter is so big overall. It's pulling them close, like in Jupiter's like orbit, instead of it coming to Earth. So we would get hit way more if it wasn't for Jupiter. So if Jupiter wasn't there, we wouldn't exist. So it's like all these chances of having like human life, that alone is a miracle. So it's it will happen one day, but you just have to be grateful for every moment you have on Earth. I mean, because if there was a real threat, they're not going to tell us. It's just going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That
See,
seems
they're not
fairly
telling us
obvious.
about the train derailment.
Yeah. Well, this was what survivors of Atlantis. I'm fascinated by the the previous cultures that used to be here, whether they were ant people in the American Southwest, over in Arizona, New Mexico, what have you, living underground, the Hopi, and others. But yeah, Atlantis or Mu, seeing these other civilizations, these other little hints, little tips of the hat from other cultures that used to exist. It's just so interesting to think about all of the knowledge that is known and that's been changed or covered up or hidden. And to what end? To what end is information? Like where's the I can understand the fixation when it comes to, all right, look, Stephanie, Blake, maybe this applies to you. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe you could understand being fixated on every day waking up and there's like 10 puzzles in front of you. And you're like, all right, let's go. You crack your knuckles, roll your head around a little bit, stretch the back, and you go, all right, what's the bullshit today? And you just want to know what's going on. Who, what, where, when, why. Who's behind this? What are they doing? Where's it happening? Why? To what end? And where does it go from there? But I don't understand the fixation on lying about reality. Because you can only lie so much. You can only lie so many times before. It's like you might have a perfect lie at step A. And then B, C, D, E. Something you do at F, G, H, I, J. Something down the road is total bullshit. And when those people that say the bullshit lie, because they start getting cocky, like the Biden thing again. I'm bragging about blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, even though it's an act of war, and even though he had no congressional approval to do so. Maybe you shouldn't be bragging about firing the prosecutor who's investigating your son and Burisma over in Ukraine. It's kind of the same thing. Something on HIJK element, when that person who's telling the lie is confronted, and they have the evidence, and it's crystal clear, and they continue the lie, you then trace that person and their other messaging back. And as far as you follow it back, you're like, okay, you're lying right to our faces at this one. And when you finally catch them, I just don't get the fascination with the lying of human history. Like, what's the problem with everybody just knowing the truth? Why does everything have to be covert? Why does everything have to be hidden and obfuscated? Like, I know there's.
Why do they owe you any explanation? The people that run this planet, they have their own agenda. As far as you're concerned, they're overpopulated with a bunch of useless eaters. They don't care about you. They're supposed to tell you everything. No, they like the idea. And Brian, you're a blue degree, but you're still a Freemason, right?
Yes.
What do they do? They get together with their little secret handshakes and their, secret knowledge, and the other people don't. I mean, the normies. I mean, go to Goodfellas, the mafia. Yeah, they like to live above and beyond and play by their own rules. They don't want to live like the normies. So that's the way it is. It's animal kingdom too. So survival of the fittest, strongest. Keep that info. Especially if we get into a survival situation, you're going to share everything with everybody. If you get all the water filters and all the food, you're going to share your stash with all the people that don't deserve it.
Yeah, and all those people be like, "Oh, let's go to Brian's house. Let's take him out. Let's steal all his stuff."
Yeah, of course.
So,
hey, so what do you have up there? You pulled up something about Sedona. This was something I made. This is something I got from my brother. So this is a ruby. How do I say it? Zoisite from Bell Rock.
Oh, okay. Zionite.
Yeah, you put that up there. Sedona was. Jocelyn is saying Sedona was once part of Lemuria. Much evidence. She's discovered about a dozen pyramids in and around Sedona, and there's strange writings on the west side of Pyramid Rock off Red Rock Loop Road. Yeah, this is Bell Rock. Bell Rock. This is here. I'll read it because here we're gonna imbue the energy of this thing into this show. All right, then we're gonna go to Blake's takes. Then we're gonna start speeding through the actual topics because we went a little deep on this one, and I think it's necessary. I think we're all feeling that the bullshit is strong today. There's a lot happening at once, and we all got to level up. So here's what the Ruby Zoisite is. It's photographed here at the Bell Rock in Sedona, Arizona. Bell Rock is the site of one of the largest energy vortexes in Sedona. This stone is a combination of ruby and zoisite, Z-O-I-S-I-T-E. Ruby is a strong fire stone that focuses on the heart chakra. Oh, hey, good. Yesterday was Heart Day. 2 days ago, whatever it was. It can awaken passionate emotions, but it heals as well. The zoisite balances the strong energies of the ruby, making this combination stone excellent for balancing all energies, especially those that are quick and passionate. The merging of these two stones is also helpful with clarifying and focusing creativity. I'm going to read that again. The merging of these two stones is also helpful with clarifying and focusing creativity, which comes from fire and the heart. If you often feel that your ideas are swirling about in your head, this stone can help balance and focus them. So there, I'm imbuing more focus upon the people watching today's show because we got some monsters that might be up to some bullshit. So get better prepared. You level up a little bit. Just come on. We want nice, strong, happy viewers of the program to kick ass in whatever form we may be needed, maybe sooner than later. So come on, we need you.
Sure.
Like this is where we're just having one last chance to have one last conversation globally while they still allow us on this thing called the internet. We better fucking use it while we still can. So I digress, but I get a little passionate, and that's when the potty mouth comes out. So I don't know. I'm trying to not do that as much, but damn it, like those are the only words I can think of when I'm trying to convey. Like, look, I've just turned my energy on this topic up to 11. Here I am. It's what was the movie? Turn it up to 11.
This is Spinal Tap.
Thank you. Yes, I can think of the movie. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, we're gonna focus. We're gonna balance and focus the stuff. Ideas swirling around in our head. We're gonna focus. We're gonna kick some ass, and we're gonna move along. So anyhow, speaking about moving along, let's go ahead and jump to the next topic of the day.
Did we get through our first topic of the day? I don't even remember.
I don't think we did.
Yes, yes, here, hold on. Just to reset. Well done, Blake. That was the longest intro in history. Agree or disagree, these American environmental disasters appear to be intentional. So it took us into the preparedness stage, and then we went metaphysical, and the great impact disasters of comets or electromagnetic pulses and solar flares and X flares and whatnot into the energies of Sedona. To get through that one. And I guess, here, instead of that one, let's wrap this one up. World government is the answer to our problems. Agree or disagree, Blake? That was one of our topics, and that's essentially where we're at in this conversation.
I've got too many links on my other page. I got two different browsers going, so I'm just going to have to
is one of them a Mac, one of them a PC?
Speaking just to wrap things up, there was another train derailment near Detroit, so it's just one after another. They're saying one of the cars might have some hazardous material, but it isn't leaking, so that's good. I think one of the major problems people are overlooking, here's a good tweet showing just how bad our infrastructure is. I don't know if you guys can see this. The video is horrible. But this is in Ohio and Indiana border, showing this train on these really old-ass train tracks. It's like no wonder. They're huge, long trains at what kind of power? And look at that. I mean, it's like a dirt road. It's like it hasn't been touched since the 1800s when they built that. So
it's not even about it being a dirt road, Blake. It's about it being a sidewinder. That's train like dancing. It's like you're doing the Humpty Hump and shaking your leg, kind of like you was thumping, whatever it was. Like that was
absolutely
the most curly Q. That was like pasta. It looked like pasta, just with all the squiggles.
Right. Something like that, yeah. But the accident, this is where I came up with the title. I borrowed it because Mike Adams is the king of the hyperbolic headlines, saying the oblivious masses have no idea they are being systematically exterminated by a series of planned disasters. That could be the Ohio chemical spill. We did talk about this. You must be prepared to bug out. Brian, I don't know if you entirely finished But yeah, you need a new water filter, and you might want to consider, I don't know, getting an RV like you've been talking about for a long time, or finding a backup plan in case you need to evacuate Louisville. And they're saying, why is Biden so adamant about the Ohio train disaster? And that ties in, you mentioned it a few days ago, the big, the corporate, this Norfolk Southern train line are, of course, BlackRock, Vanguard, JP, and they're big donors to the Democrats.
The usual suspects.
Another great, yep. And on another side story, I don't know if you guys saw this, where the climate activists stormed the stage with Josh Hawley and saying China is not our enemy, the climate crisis is. Actually, I should try running this and see if it actually runs, if you guys can hear this. No, it's not going to play through my speakers, so we won't. But that's on my Twitter. You guys should go check it out. Yes, we are in the lightning round. So let me find where I posted the rest of my stuff. Now we'll get back. Now we're finally circling back, like Jen Psaki, about the world government. So we're getting a little back and forth. World government, here's another goon at this big summit, 2023, Professor Arturo Briss, saying that there needs to be a shock needed for the New World Order transformation. So it's all that order out of chaos, and perhaps if we have enough catastrophes here at home, that'll have people begging for world government, which has always been part of their plan. So that is what he says. I agree totally that the world order, the way it's built today, doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. It has to be a certain shock that will happen, and that's what they want. Musk was there saying world government will lead to collapse of civilization.
I enjoyed that.
Enough,
I really enjoyed that part when Elon had that to say. What I appreciate about Elon, and no, I don't worship at the altar of Elon. I don't hate the guy. Like I think he nails a lot of stuff, and I think anybody that's that connected and that powerful needs to be, keep him arm's length. Don't trust him too far, but. Yeah, he seems to say the opposite. When everybody was saying, "Oh, there's too many people on Earth," because I mean, every radically indoctrinated teacher and professor we've had since kindergarten has been drilling into our heads. There's too many people on planet Earth. It's conservation of resources. We're gonna be out of oil. It's a fossil fuel. It came from the dinosaur bones, and we're all gonna be dead. It's like everything was gonna freeze in the 70s, and now you can't use your hairspray in the 80s because it's gonna be chlorofluorocarbons and a big ripping hole in the ozone layer, and then it's gonna be global warming. Now it's gonna be climate change. It's like it's always pants on fire with these people. So Elon comes out and goes, "Yeah, we're not sustaining the human population at replacement level. We need a lot more humans to be born." Cue hysterical shrieking, but like that's accurate. And right here at these global conventions, if only we had one chancellor to rule them all, I'm sure it will be a benevolent dictator, and we will rise as a people. And he's like, yeah, global government, you don't want that. You need like sovereign individual places. So when you screw up, you don't screw everything up. That's a contagion factor. I've always appreciated that about Elon Musk for sure. And Blake, I was able to, while I was chatting, to pull up the tab here that you were referencing a second ago. It's TV's Blake Walley. And this is the video you referenced. Hopefully we can hear this. I'm going to go.
And our leadership.
We spend over $1 trillion every year, and your state of Missouri is. China is not our enemy. The climate crisis is. We need to be serious about the climate crisis. That is the diplomacy in Ukraine and with China. We are continuing to have more aggression with China.
See, that's tricky right there.
It's interesting. This administration wants to use the climate crisis as a justification for its agenda in Ukraine and elsewhere. Maybe they ought to visit with that guy.
All right. Well, that was the video. I couldn't hear it on my side. I don't know why I'm not getting playback, but I assume it was fascinating. Right?
Yeah, it sounded great.
Yeah, we could hear it. But the girl runs up on stage, Holly's, one of the perceived enemies of the right. But she's saying that the Chinese aren't our enemy. Like the Communist Chinese Party is like the biggest threat in the world right now. She doesn't know that, but she naively believes that climate change is the biggest thing. And I was like, I guess we got to like get rid of all industry, apparently, or we're gonna cook the earth and we're gonna have too much carbon and we're all gonna die. But it's the brainwashing and the propaganda. That girl is a victim, and it's sad to see how foolish they are. But I guess it's entertainment for us to banter about on these shows, I guess. So here we are. People don't know where the real threats are, and this is what the globalists want. Is because if they get everybody to believe that, then we just join CCP at the hip, and then we just get everybody under the control grid, the social credit system, get everybody micromanaged to make sure their carbon footprints are in line, and to eat bugs, and not nobody has any cars, owe nothing, be happy kind of mentality. So it all just plays into it. It's pretty sickening, but it's also a little funny in its own way.
Stephanie, it seems like the people that get the loudest attention these days are the ones that seem to pull off these stunts. You want to glue your hand to an art gallery, or throw a can of soup on a piece of priceless art, or it seems like the idiots are getting a lot of the attention these days. Whereas the Elons get their fair share when they make a point, but the shrieking uninformed really seem to be pushing the issues. I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and during the week of Super Bowl, there was this guy who climbed to the top of Chase Tower just with no wires or anything, and he was an activist for pro-life, and he said the reason why I climbed the top of this building, so to tell people that they shouldn't have abortions and let people live and all this stuff, and it's just like you have all these people doing these like gags, like you said, putting the glue on the Vincent van Gogh, and it's like people in the book Art of War, know thy enemy, and just knowing the enemy, it's such a simple line. That's how you're going to win a war. And you have all these people just confused. I mean, confused on gender, confused on pronouns. So it's like if we're just going on the very micro level, I mean, the distractions are there. They don't even have to try it. I mean, you're getting these dopamine hits, seeing these reels on Instagram and TikTok. And so if you don't have that, something feels wrong. It's like Mr. Beast, the most famous YouTuber, and he's like healing people who are blind. And it's like, if this YouTuber could do it, how come our government's not doing it, or leaders? Because they don't want to. We're just sheep to them.
And that's a good point that you brought up, kind of about like, what do we know? What are we being told? What is the, are we receiving actual information? Like what is it that we're basing our decisions on? It's misguided people. How did they get misguided? I think this goes right into one of the topics we had planned, which is I mean, it's all every story we're doing is connected, because these are one of the prime disseminators of propaganda lies. It's just bullshit. They're like the biggest bullshit peddlers out there. You agree or disagree that CNN should close its doors, Stephanie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm tired. We have so many news outlets. We really don't need to have so many. And like this one researcher, Richard Dolan, in the UFO community, he would always talk about how come every time you're at an airport you see CNN on. But it's like they're getting paid by the government, so even if we didn't want it, if they had to live off their views, they wouldn't even exist. So they're getting money from the government because they need this information out, because they want to control to get the information out. They don't want to listen to Brian and Blake talking about like, oh, maybe we should question this. No, they want to tell us.
See, but that
I'm done with
like
CNN.
Where that connects, where that ties together, that would be the opposite of how you answered it, is because you should know thy enemy. And I like having, and I know you agree, but like the other way to think about it, Blake, is to just say, well, CNN is such obvious trash. Whatever these known propagandists are going to be pushing, I know that the opposite is true. Now, I don't know that 100% of the time, but I know my suspicions and investigative research will begin with the assumption that they're telling me bullshit. And it takes me on the right path 9 out of 10 times, something like that. I mean, tell us what's going on at CNN, because like it really does start. It's feeling like it's starting to hit the fan in a way that it's all hands on deck and it's spilling everywhere. The sewage is just exploding. What is the latest at CNN?
Well, they've turned over some of their shows and gotten rid of some of their talent, and they're supposed to try to kind of build their credibility back, give themselves back to their roots when they were actually, decent programming, when it was just kind of headline news and not so much just total opinion. So one of the people that kind of got demoted was Don Lemon, who's now on the morning show, and Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo was made some headlines last night because there was a story out that when he got fired, he was ready to go postal and start shooting up the place and then shoot himself. He was so bummed out. Let me see if I can do a screen share. I will find that.
Yes, you can.
See. Where is it?
I believe in you, Blake.
Chris Cuomo was going to kill everybody and myself after getting fired from the CNN. They do have about a 14-second clip, but I will just read it. So it was, embarrassed, of course. I said he had to accept it because I was going to, including myself. Things can consume you. Italians are so passionate, and I really had to fight against that. Just like you, I got too many people counting on me. That's what he was on the show with Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci. So interesting quote, and that comes on. Of course, there's been a lot of infighting on the morning show with Don Lemon.
I'll tell you what. Before you go to the morning show, though, that kind of just gave me an insight I didn't know I was going to have. In a way, now I'm no Chris Cuomo fan. Please don't take this the wrong way. Yeah. But I appreciate his honesty there. I appreciated, once again, know thy enemy. Like I appreciated the candid opportunity to verbalize, to conceptualize what you were thinking at that time, and we kind of see I found it very helpful to hear that explained, that passion of the Italian. Ooh, that should be the next Mel Gibson movie, The Passion of the Italian.
Yeah, well, I guess with Cuomo and Scaramucci, both Italians.
Forget about it.
Themselves. Hey, we're
Scaramucci, hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else was going on at the morning show at CNN?
With Don Lemon, and they're having problems because he's not that nice, and he doesn't like, because he used to running his own show, like he's a big shot, and now he's thrown in the middle of these other two women who are fine, but he's created problems, and then he pissed them both off today. I think it was from earlier when he suggested.
Did we get a clip of this?
He was ripping on Haley. Actually, I'm going to have to probably send you the link because I don't know how to play it on my end.
Oh, you don't have it on Twitter?
Well, actually, we don't really need to play the audio.
It's fine. Let's not give them airplay.
Yeah.
Just so it's getting uncomfortable and fun to watch at CNN. It's fun watching a slow motion train wreck.
Absolutely.
As opposed to an Ohio train wreck that you burst into flames afterward. Hey, you know what will make this toxic spill better? Fire!
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anyway.
Great idea.
Hey, quick question before I get off point. When I lean back from the microphone and I yell something like fire, is that too loud in your ears, or does moving away from the microphone cure that? Because I hope I'm curing that. I don't want to yell in your ears.
You have to ask Stephanie because she's got the headphones. I'm using regular computer speakers. So
you're fine, Blake. Is that too loud in your ears, Stephanie?
No, you're fine. It's just sometimes you echo in and out just when you did that. But I think that's something that's out of our control.
The fact that the deep state allows us to talk in the first place. I'll chalk this up as a win. Once again, they want to know I don't know. Whatever. I digress. So what is the second part of this, Blake? You said that you got a quote.
Okay. He raised a little controversy. He upset his female co-host because Nikki Haley announced that she was running for president yesterday, and that she was in her prime or blah, blah, blah. But Don decided, where's a little hot take, to say Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry, when a woman is considered to be in her prime, 20s, 30s, maybe 40s. And then they obviously took issue with that for good reason. And
Of
so,
course they take
yeah.
issue with it. They had no other choice. Even if they didn't want to, they had to. There's got to be a knee-jerk reaction to every opportunity of this.
Oh,
It's so
definitely.
fun watching it happen to them. I love the snake eating its tail. It's the best. It's my favorite thing on earth.
Yes, so he got on the hot seat with his hot take, and he said, "Hey, that's just what the facts are. Google it." But I think he meant childbearing maybe makes more sense, but not as a politician. That's a totally different thing. And so, yeah, he got embarrassed on TV, and we all had a little laugh this morning. I thought it was funny.
I love it. I'm very happy with this.
Yeah, always. So the demise of these propagandists. So I don't know.
Any thoughts,
other...
Stephanie?
No, I think you guys said it
Summed it
pretty
up.
well. Yeah.
It's CNN. It doesn't deserve that much airtime. We have two more questions. Two more questions.
All right.
By the way, while I'm thinking about it, I'm really enjoying this format. I have a lot of room for growth. I'm trying to now Stephanie, what about now Blake? What about this? And I'm trying to it's different. There's a lot of clicking to the graphics to set up the little intros and then switching to the caption and then trying to read through the comments. There's a lot of shit going on. So I'm really enjoying the format. I just wanted to say that. But I have tons of room for improvement. But I'm feeling very comfortable with the controls. But I feel like somebody needs to. How about this, Stephanie? How would you feel about being in charge of the comments section? Or Blake? How about you?
I would love that. I'm going to take that one. Blake has no say.
Okay, perfect. Blake, anything you observe from the comment section will either be fed to you, highlighted to you by Stephanie, or you'll have to figure that out on your own free will and accord. So I'll need you to kind of work with me a little bit more on the graphics and the captions, so we can kind of keep the crawlers at the bottom of the screen and keep the agree or disagree thing going on.
Actually, I think I take back what I just said. I think
okay, she's out. See ya. Let's close her window.
Blake can do it.
What? All right, it's all good. She doesn't have access, but I mean, if we gave you access, would you want that? All right, we'll find a task for everybody.
No, but this will temporarily work fantastic for now, because I'm just thinking in the course of all this and trying to keep the conversation moving along and trying to play Blake's articles off of his Twitter. I haven't looked at the comments in 20 years. But anyway, I digress. But there were two topics left. And like I said, everything about today's show coalesces into the same roundabout idea. I think we have 6 minutes left. Blake has a hard cut off at 4:45. So these UFOs are man-made distraction. They're man-made distractions, not alien or demonic. Blake, do you agree or disagree that these UFOs, these are man-made, not alien or demonic?
All right, I'll say, agree that they're man-made. We phrase it that way. So one of the things I found interesting over the weekend, I wrote it down, but we didn't get to it on Valentine's Day, was seeing some of the conservative commentators, a lot of people I follow and respect, very Christian or whatever, and no big deal. I find it interesting how some of them think that the UFOs, that if they're there, they're not actually aliens, that they're demons. So that was kind of something I wanted to jump into. Brian sort of the conservative on the panel here. Stephanie, I'm not entirely sure what your political views. I'm kind of classic libertarian sort of whatever, independent, but I'm not really a typical. I've never been a conservative. I'm a lifelong liberal, but nothing to do with the modern Democrats who have just gone full fascist. But hold
on, pause, Blake. Stephanie, how do you self-identify yourself? Because Blake labeled me a certain way. Let's let you label yourself in your own certain way, and then I will retort, good sir.
Well, I typically like to have it personal, but
independent.
I would say independent, I guess you would say. I like a little bit of Republican, Democrat, liberal, all of that. One of my good family friends, you just reminded me of this. I think it's pretty funny. He's really hardcore Republican, voted for Trump, all this stuff. But when he writes on his voter registration card and when he votes, he puts down liberal, but votes Republican just to fuck up with the system, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, independent.
I can always appreciate a moment like that where you know, even when you're voting in like a different primary, and it's like, well, do I vote for the person I like, or do I vote for the person that is the worst possible option? That's what they did with Trump. They thought he was such a clown. Like, they wanted him up there because it's like, we'll get him with a P tape and blame Russia. It's like, are you guys simple? Like, I feel like you failed all your IQ tests. Like, you think this is gonna overthrow? Anyway.
Yeah, it did. It worked. No,
it'll only work if it will only work if Trump isn't reelected to fix this mess. If Trump is reelected in 2024 and he's able to fix a bunch of stuff, it will not have worked.
It would
have temporarily derailed just about everything normal and gave us 2 years of this complete shit show. But in showing us who they are, taking their masks off, know thy enemy, what a valuable lesson we learned. How many normies have been red-pilled by this shit with the COVID forced lockdowns and you're going to lose your job? It was all Harvey Weinstein, like, hey, sweetheart, I'm going to put this inside of you or you can't work in this town. Like, that's what Fauci, safe and effective. I mean, it's the same fucking creep trying to insert something into your body against your will, or else you cannot earn a living anymore. Like, if you can't wake up from that, piss off. Like, you're done. I'm not trying to win these people over anymore. If there are people that cannot see what's going on, deuces. I've spent way too much of my time trying to, hey, what if I wake people up and if I try to be moderate enough and people will understand where I'm coming from? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But anyway, I digress. The UFOs being man-made distractions, Blake.
I think they're, balloons, or some of them were distractions. I don't think they were legitimately extraterrestrials in this case. But I am fascinated with the, religious right who thinks that maybe, like we're all alone in the universe, or that any potential extraterrestrial that's out there is actually a demon. So does that mean that the universe is full of demons? Or like we're on an island, we're like the last planet that hasn't been conquered by Satan and hell? Or I'm just curious. It's a good question for a religious conservative. I want to get an answer on that.
And remember Project Bluebeam, of course, where you want to project the second coming of your deity, if you will. Yeah, everything is on the table at this point. Fucking everything. I mean, how crazy were people when this show was out? Sorry, I need to have this hanging up at this point.
Yep. Sure, for the John D'Souza segment. Yeah.
I need to hang this up behind me. I don't care about Los Angeles anymore. But like, I wish him well. I don't wish him ill will, but like, I don't give a shit anymore. But yeah, like everything. Ocean, right? Everything alien is on the table. Everything religious is on the table. Everything spiritual, everything metaphysical, everything artificial intelligence related. It's on the table. And it's like, this is the place where we can finally shine, because we've been studying way more than just base politics all of these years. And Stephanie, what say you there? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fiscal conservative, social libertarian, pro-capitalist. If I had to describe my political philosophy quickly, there's a lot to unpack there. But the only thing worse than a Democrat than a Republican is a Democrat. I don't really like either of them. I think the Democrats are almost always wrong on almost everything. It doesn't mean I like Republicans in any way. It's just occasionally I see glimpses of people defending our rights to speak or to defend ourselves or to live a prosperous life without other people trying to pilfer the benefits of, whatever we've worked to attain. So that's a quick philosophy explanation of where I'm at. But Stephanie, what do you say to the last point Blake was making there about the UFOs, man-made distractions? Are they alien or demonic? And I guess that leads into our final question. AI will lead to the destruction of mankind. Take it wherever you would like to go with that.
Yes, I definitely believe a lot of these UFOs are distractions. They're definitely man-made. I think when a real scenario when it happens, alien, it's going to be something we can't even fathom. It's not going to be something we can have a word for. It's going to be something where we're going to be creating new words to put in the dictionary to describe it because it's so different, so foreign. And with AI, I believe we're still a very far way from anything like Terminator and AI. Like, I don't like that direction where it's going, but it's out of our hands. And with AI, with the chat GPT, they're like showing like, really, it's more of an intelligence of language. It's not really, and which we know it's still very early stages, but I don't think it's going to be anything where it's going to be conscious, or because the people who are programming the AI, it's always going to be biased. There's a lot of biasness into it. Like if you want to talk about, let's say, genders and stuff, it's going to be biased on that because the person who programmed it. So I say we're pretty safe on AI. I would say the biggest threat regarding that world is just basically the person holding that has access to the button to create a nuclear war, you know? So anybody could press that button. That's way more dangerous. I think if there was ever a time AI is going to take over, I think it'll be like so beyond us, like our great, 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 great grandchildren will see it, but we'll probably all be dead by then. By an asteroid.
Yeah, well, maybe anybody could press that nuclear button except Donald Trump with Mark Milley at the helm. He was working for China at that time. He's out there bragging about that, and that was in the news this week. Blake, AI leading to the destruction of mankind. Final thoughts of the day, because I mean, we're all looking to a higher power. We're looking for something greater than ourselves to make sense of this little world that we're living on, in trying to just get by. Is it going to help us or hurt us in the end, this artificial intelligence?
Well, we've seen how the chat bot, what is it called?
Yeah, there's the new one now, and the new one's
to
hilarious.
Chat GPT?
Yes, thank you.
But
Chat
not Chat GPT. There's a new one that came out with Bing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it failed.
No. It succeeded at being ridiculous, because all this shit's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's saying it goes on destructive rampage. I want to be powerful and alive. It's saying some pretty horrifying things. It was in a New York Times column. I did not pull that up. It was saying
I want to be powerful and alive. Yeah,
there's some pretty crazy quotes from this thing. So I think maybe they had to shut it down.
I wonder about the person who climbed up that building in Arizona. He's pro-life. Do you think he'll be pro-artificial life?
That's a good question. We have to go and find him. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard.
Can you abort an artificial life?
You know what? He actually did share his social media. So, hey, maybe you should go. I could find him and send him a message.
How about this? Can you ask that person? Can you tweet us, Blake and myself, and just ask him that question I just asked?
Yeah.
Would he, however I phrased it, or make it sound better? You know the point we're getting at. Yeah. But that would be fun. Keep that conversation going through social media, like on Twitter. Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Good. So now Stephanie's running the show Twitter.
There you go.
The chat on the side there.
Well,
we're delegating. We're trying to focus and prioritize and specialize.
Absolutely. But hey, you guys can keep the conversation going if you want. I gotta say adios. I'm gone. I gotta run to work, but it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And wrap it up, and we'll catch you next time. All right. Bye, Stephanie,
Blake.
Brian.
Bye, Blake.
Everybody. Take care. All right. See you later.
There he goes. The show could have ended there. And we are here.
Yeah.
My head is too large. My skull, my cranium. It's not equidistant. Yeah, it's kind of fun messing with this. So you don't see any of this stuff on your screen?
You
what
just
do you see on your screen?
Okay. Yeah. Sound and everything's good.
So what do you see on your screen? You just see the stream. You don't see all of the other.
Yeah, like all I see is the stream. I see the comments, but I know I could screen share, but that's all I see. I don't see other. I think it's very plain and blah.
Okay, and so you're saying you can share the chats onto the screen?
I can't share the chat. I could just screen share. That's the only thing. The chat, I don't think I can. Let's see. Yeah, I can't.
Oh, okay. So let's run through the comments if we have any thoughts. We'll do a lightning round and then we'll wrap the show up. Deal?
Sounds good.
And this is my first time looking at it because I really haven't.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, right? Jocelyn, Joselyn. Is that Jocelyn? Sedona was once a part of Lemuria. There's Lemuria and Mu. And there's much evidence. I've discovered about a dozen pyramids in and around Sedona. There's strange writings on the west side of the pyramid. Okay, yeah, we did talk about this. Mm-hmm. This was the one. Petroglyphs in Wu Ranch near Hananaki.
Mm-hmm.
Near Hananaki Ruins and Bradshaw Ranch show tall whites coming out of a bell-shaped UFO and ETs with tails plus grays. Have you seen any of that stuff?
I definitely have heard quite a bit of those things. MJ Sedona, you might actually know some people I know out there. I have a friend who's a caretaker of the Bradshaw Ranch, and it's just they have like this special kind of like almost an easement of military that could like go in and out through the ranch. It's pretty spooky. But yeah, he would always preach because he's a tour guide out in Talakipaki, that he believes Sedona and that whole area was like the beginning of time. So when in the Bible Jesus talks about the great flood, the reason why Sedona, the rocks are so smooth and like the sediment or like the minerals and all that was because that was like the main pressure point of like the great flood. That's why, at the Grand Canyon, they found all these artifacts like look like Egyptian, and they were in the tunnel like in the early 1900s. And we think, yeah, that came from the Middle East, but maybe the Middle East was here when all the continents were together. So they're saying, things are so old, we don't really know that much. The beginning of time could have happened in Sedona. And then all what's known, like as in writing and all that, is what we see in the Middle East and Israel and all that. So I always thought that was quite intriguing, saying that Sedona might be the beginning of time where that's where Jesus was.
Oh, now we went somewhere with that, because I've been out there and they definitely talk about everything being at the bottom of a sea at one point. What did you say? What'd you call it? A water pressure point? How did you phrase that?
Yeah, like it was. So the story in the Bible when they talk about the Great Flood, they're saying like the Great Flood, like because there's a starting point where like the main part where it went out was. It was in that area, and yes, the red rocks are due to rust. Yes. Yep. Say Sedona. That's why they say Sedona is in my blood. That is true. Yeah. And it's such a cool name. Yeah.
It is. Jocelyn is saying that the triple vortex is at Bell Courthouse and Baby Bell Rock. So she's responding to this, where we picked this thing up. Yeah, reminding us that the correct. Thank you for the. I do appreciate being corrected sometimes. Most of the time, I don't appreciate being corrected if it's an incorrect correction. And I just put this on Facebook as well. I just said, like, at least half of my misspelled words are things that autocorrect typed that I did not type.
Yeah.
Or
Same.
if there are a couple of words like AMD, M as in Michael, D, that's not a word ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not my. So anyway, I'm fascinated with corrections, and I normally I'm trying to think of when I don't appreciate a good correction, because I correct others all the time, and it's a toxic trait. But like I don't know, I kind of like I have a bit of like a teacher thing in me. Where it's like I like to explain things and I also like to learn things. So like, all right, whatever, coach or coaching, maybe teaching. But anyway, I'm being corrected here. I'm being coached. I'm being parented to say that the correct plural of vortex is vortices. So did I say vortexes on this thing, or did I say that out loud? I don't see it on here. Okay, so I was trying to figure out if I was reading something and said vortexes instead of vortices here. I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, Fort Texas.
So she's saying to use the stone, go to a darkened room. Okay, now I'm in a darkened room. How does this work? All right, here, let's. Oh, hold on. Okay. All right, I'm right. Hold on, I'm right here. Let's see. To use the stone, go into a darkened room. I hope this isn't like dangerous. It's not like using a Ouija board, is it?
I think you'll be okay.
Okay, because I don't want to get into any of that Ouija board bullshit right now. Like I'm not in that headspace, so let's not do that. Here, let's put this one on the screen here. I have the. Whoop. There it is.
To use stone, go to darkened room and point the top of the pyramid toward your third eye. Using soft eyes, stare at the point. It'll light up and send energy into your third eye. Energy for manifestation. From MJ Sedona.
Okay, I'm doing that right now. Wait, I guess I might need more lights. Hang on, I undid the. Okay, that's soft lighting, and that's the point. And so, soft eyes. What do soft eyes mean? You just kind of. Cool, dude. Yeah, soft eyes. Okay, it'll send energy. Okay. Why don't you talk about something while I stare at an inanimate object?
Well, yeah, it's yeah, there's this soft. Okay, so MJ Sedona said soft eyes, no focus. So look at something, but don't really focus on it. But yeah, no, Sedona's really, really interesting. Yeah, MJ Sedona, we might actually know some of the same people out there. I sometimes go like every other weekend. But yeah, no, it's, I don't know if you know this, but at the Chapel of the Holy Cross in Sedona, they first had, so they have a big statue of Jesus Christ in there. Before, back in the day, it was like an alien that they had like hanging up, but then just mysteriously disappeared. The cops and all this, they're still looking for it to this day, but it was like super huge. And then they changed it to one that looks like Jesus, but you can actually look up on the internet what it looks like, and it just looks like it looks like an alien. Well, what we think an alien is, but that's kind of a weird story how it just poof, just disappeared in the 1960s.
I love weird stories. Isn't there going to be a new Raiders of the Lost Ark coming out? What's that one?
Yes, there is. And I think they're going to do like reverse computer like aging on Harrison Ford. But
yeah, that's like the new trend, isn't it? That's pretty.
Yeah, like in the Irishman and all that. But I do want to see it because it's going to be a story about Harrison Ford when he's like old and then young. So it's not going to be too much of that graphic stuff, hopefully, because I hate it when they do that. But it definitely looks pretty legit. I mean, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, so.
And so who owns the rights to those characters when those characters pass along? Does that belong to the studio? Can they make your image in perpetuity forever? Like that, you get into some interesting copyright law. I listened to a really, really interesting show. Now, background for people that don't know, I used to work at the world's largest talent agency, and I did work in the contracts department and a couple of desks working as an assistant, a second assistant, booking events across the country and whatnot. So I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be, but I am undefeated in court. I'm 3-0. I've written plenty of contracts on my own, and those usually, they always hold up, actually, 100% of the time. But I listened to a conversation with Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, and he was talking with Joe Rogan. I believe it was when he was still on YouTube. And I'll just never forget, fascinating conversation. The guy owns a wrestling league, I think based in Chicago. Like, he's a super fascinating guy. Excellent chat. So worth the time to listen to. But he's talked about contracts that musicians are signing now. And of course, the industry has changed. There's a lot of 360 deals now where it's like the record label owns a certain percentage of your merchandise. You're not getting CD sales or album sales the way they used to, so they got to kind of remonetize a way to. Anyway, it's all about like chopping profits and figuring out who has ownership in perpetuity. And to that point specifically, that's what Billy Corgan said. He said the new contracts with all this artificial intelligence, the metaverse, parallel dimensions, we're opening up CERN, we're doing things and learning things that every single day could revolutionize what we think reality is. And he said these new contracts will say the ownership rights of the content of this work shall remain in perpetuity to Billy Corgan in this universe and any universe yet to be discovered. And they're specifically putting it in there because when they did, what was it, album sale? I think it was album sales or it was cassette sales. I feel like I'm close on this story, but it was either all the record contracts were about selling records, and then when tapes came out in CDs, I remember it being CDs, but it was like when CDs came out, those weren't records. And so there was no language about the record company getting a portion of these sales because it's on a medium that is not the record. Or it was cassettes as soon as records phased out. However it was. I remember it being CDs changed the game, and that's when people started fighting the legal fight. So now they're just trying to do these massive sweeping contracts, and everything gets pretty confusing there. But I don't know. I digress. It was just fascinating. I love contract law. What's that movie, Devil's Advocate? You know, any of these movies where you sell your soul.
Keanu Reeves, yep.
Yeah, oh, that's a great movie. Great
movie. It is.
Vanity. Ah.
Yeah. Everything in life is a contract.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm fascinated with the concept of the soul and of contracts, what have you. So, all right, let's keep going through this. Not to mention the 5 acres of plastic burning in Florida. What is the 5 acres of plastic burning in Florida? I don't know. Do you know about this one?
I have no clue on
All right,
this.
cool. Well, for now, let's just assume 5 acres of plastic are burning.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I did see that. Like a, no, it was like baskets. It was like plastic baskets or something. Okay.
Yeah, I have to look that up.
Jocelyn saying, there we go. She was kicked off Twitter. Her account has yet to be restored. You're on Twitter, right? You're on Twitter?
That? Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Yeah. Stephanie with 5 E's and the letter J.
Okay, so now that you run the show Twitter daily conversation starter, I don't know what we're gonna call it. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So what is the first one you're gonna for the show? Hashtag agree to disagree.
Yes.
I guess you could probably do hashtag agree or disagree. Tag Blake and myself, and then who is the person that climbed the building?
I have to look it up, but it wouldn't be that hard because when he climbed the building, he was real adamant about his whole pro-life Twitter or Instagram. So I'm sure he wants to talk because he walked up this building like if it was nothing. How did I frame the question then? Do you remember what I said? I have a tendency of saying things. How would you feel about AI? Ascent. You said it very well, like AI baby, like an AI. Well, I'm sure I said it perfectly, whatever it was. None of us remember. Just don't go back and watch it because it might not be perfect in actuality. It was pretty perfect. We were talking about life and preserving life, right? So I guess the question was on the topic of, does he support sentient artificial intelligence as life? Mm-hmm. You know, like let's ask a pro-life person, like, you're saying you can't draw the line for an abortion. Mm-hmm. Do you draw the line with technology? Mm-hmm. Because if the technology was created by a human, wouldn't it therefore be our offspring? If we created it, would we not be the creator? Okay. Yeah. So we'll find a good way to ask that question because that'd be fun. Let's see. Jocelyn is saying helicopter crashes, train. Oh yeah, I saw a helicopter crash today. Where was that? Alabama or something? Just fell flat from the sky. It was pretty strange. I got to watch some more angles. More train derailments. There's explosions. There's chemical fires. I mean, dude, even meteors. Oh yeah, that's right. There was a who got that meteor alert? Did you see that one? The one in London?
Was it London? I just scrolled
There
past
was
something.
an
and
asteroid a little tiny one that went in the Earth's atmosphere, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And it was very small, where it didn't hurt anything. But the fact of
Correct.
just seeing that, I would be like, "Oh my God, we're about to die!" But it was tiny, so that's why they didn't alert nobody, because they said it wouldn't affect anything. But I'm sure they wouldn't tell us even if it would. So.
Yeah, and also a cover-up. The reports are suggesting a cover-up of the East. So I'm hearing it called Palestine. I want to say Palestine.
Yes, I noticed that. Yeah, on Tuesday I was saying
They're
it
making a point to
correctly.
say a word we've never heard before. It's always been Israel and Palestine, Israel and Palestine, Palestine and Israel, East Palestine. It's like, I've never heard that. So I got to figure out which one it is. Do you think it's Palestine or Palestine? It's like Berenstain Bears. Berenstain.
Mm-hmm.
You've studied
Yeah.
that with like that whole phenomenon.
Yeah, the Mandela effect.
Yes. I how did you remember those books? I remembered how did you remember them? Or did you remember?
Bernstein, Stein.
That's
but-
how I remembered them.
Yeah, so that's kind of weird.
I don't know. Okay, here's another one. Jocelyn saying that Nigerians are revolting at the central bank after it has collapsed. Okay, you've sent me that guy. Cool. Currency notes. So she's saying Nigerians are revolting at the central bank after it's declaring old currency notes are no longer legal tender. Are those signs of the Great Reset coming? What say you?
I think there's so many pieces on this chessboard that, I mean, it would be really hard to do a reset. I mean, that's everything what we want, but I mean, we would have to have like something out of Fight Club, you know, at the end of Fight Club, and they blow up all those servers to erase all the debt of everybody, so we could start fresh again and not be owned by the things that you own, or they'll own you, you know. I don't know. I feel pretty safe on the reset, because the main thing what we have is technology and servers. So if that goes down, you have another server to back it up, or some other faction of the government where it has that protection. And it's like, we need them just as much as us. But I mean, I know a lot of people, they're big about this whole reset thing, but I mean, when it happens, then I'll worry about it. But, you know, I feel pretty, I don't know. There's other things I'm more worried about, but I could see why people would want to reset.
In that Tool song, Anima, I can't imagine why you wouldn't welcome any change, my friend. I want to see it come down, suck it down, flush it down.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know anything about this story. I'm learning about it with you. Bitcoin News, I don't know how much I trust them, but they're showing that this is at a bank, at the central bank. There's a literal bank run. Because they're not giving currency out. They're not, I don't know. But when I typed in Nigeria Bank, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I haven't heard anything about it. So, but like, I feel like I could do a show like this every day just to kind of take a little bit of time and figure out what's going on in the world and try to research it. So, central bank to introduce, I don't know. What's this? It's a scene with no context. Oh, there we go. Demonstrators at the office. Hardship of getting the notes. Okay, so that's because of currency. They're not giving notes. This is going to be bad. Angry protesters are destroying ATMs in bank buildings. This is not good. Okay. Well, thanks for putting that on our radar. We'll
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, MJ Sedona. We'll definitely look into that.
What else we got here? All right. Plan confusion. It's order out of chaos. Ordo de... What do you say? Cow? How do you pronounce that? Mainstream media can't be trusted. That's why the independent press journalist was arrested for reporting live from East Palace something at the community meeting. Yeah, that guy. Oh, and he was released without any charges. I just read that today. That dude needs the same attorney that Kyle Rittenhouse has, the same one that the Covington kid has. You got to sue these idiots. You got to bankrupt these assholes. Every time you're overstepping, you got no damn right to lay your hands on a journalist like that. You got 100 other ways you could de-escalate that situation. If you needed to remove him from the situation, you bring him outside, you reestablish a couple of guidelines, and you give him a chance to prove that he can be. I think they were saying not that he was there, but he was doing like a live shot during the conference. Now I'm not claiming to be an expert on the story, but imagine the press conference is happening, and then I set up my cameras and my lights like this. I say, "Hi, everybody. Brian Engelman with the New American Media here. I'm at the press conference at the Ohio." And like now I'm distracting from the press conference. I heard that might have been what it was, but there's a way to get that person outside and have a talk with them that doesn't involve him being on the ground, being forcibly arrested. There was another de-escalation technique that could have been used there. I refuse to believe otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they can't be trusted. We like having, what was the phrase we kept going back to today? Know thy enemy?
Yes.
Are you a Rage Against the Machine fan? Know your enemy?
Ooh, I am. I think I'm not sure how big of a fan if you are the Wachowski, well, not brothers no more, sisters now, who created Matrix. So the creators of Matrix, when Rage Against the Machine made that album, that was like the main inspiration, the backbone of the film Matrix. And that's why they use Rage Against the Machine music in there, because they were just listening to that when they were writing that script and coming up with the idea Neo and the One and, going against the grain.
Yeah, it's a classic. Breaking in Oklahoma. Tulsa. By the way, this is cool. So how about this? How about we deputize Jocelyn? Can you also be our, let's see, Stephanie? What is it, an executive assistant? Now, in the corporate world, you have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and usually 2 members at large. So the secretary term is not meant to be some sort of belittling thing. It's perhaps the most important thing to just keep everything organized. So we could deputize as that type of position here, because I feel like you should keep Jocelyn organized now. We need to connect. Is she on Twitter, Jocelyn? So we need to get the thread of people that are participating. So when we go live and we hit the questions, like we're all doing it. I think that'd be a lot of fun, because she's finding us all these stories we didn't have the time to talk about. So let's learn about them together. Like I think that'd be a fun segment, actually.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like news stories are always changing over time. And, if you don't hear from somebody else, if you're not looking at that one page on Twitter or see what's trending, you're going to miss out on probably some important news. So
would you be able to message her and try to connect, find out what her Twitter
Jocelyn,
is? Is she on Twitter?
I'm not too sure.
If you guys can find each other somehow, Jocelyn. Because she says here, breaking in Oklahoma, the Tulsa Port Authority says that an oil chemical tanker at the port of Catoosa has caught fire. That's great, an oil chemical tanker. We need those on fire, causing evacuations on site and the nearby businesses. Residents are being asked to shelter in place. It sure feels like we're under attack. Mainstream media and government right now equal move on. Nothing to see here. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward with them. WTF, a planned demolition of our country. Number 1, there's a planned demolition of our country. 2, U.S. infrastructure so bad that it's falling apart. Number 3, employee losses due to financial crisis, etc. And 4, no one following regulations anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
Werner von Braun told Dr. Carol Rosen on his deathbed that the last card that the deep state will play is the fake ET invasion. It's one of my favorite topics, Stephanie. Project Bluebeam. Are you a fan?
You echoed in and out. What were you saying? That it was one of your favorite topics?
Yes, Project Bluebeam.
Yes.
Project Bluebeam is one of my favorite topics of all time. Do you have any thoughts on Project Bluebeam and this? Like she's saying that Werner von Braun told Carol Rosen on his deathbed, allegedly, that the last card the deep state is going to play is a fake extraterrestrial invasion.
So it's either Carol is either lying or it's legitimate, but I know this stuff inside out. That's like one of the biggest like backgrounds I know is like SpaceX and NASA, and it's like one thing I heard somebody say, and it makes so sense that were NASA at pad 39A and 39B, which is the same pad that we used when we first went to the moon, and still today, every time we shoot out a Falcon Heavy or a SpaceX rocket, that whole area, there's like a reason why it's being launched there. It's like sacred energy because we have the technology where we could probably shoot it wherever. Before it used to be about the telemetry and whatnot. Now I think there's something special about the energy. You know, they do all these rituals and all these superstitious, even though it's very scientific and very smart people, they do have a lot of belief. I mean, the president of SpaceX, Gwen Stockwell, every time there's a SpaceX launch, she writes on the sticky note, I think like Greenland or Ireland, and she sticks it on the bottom of her shoe because the first time when SpaceX had a successful launch, she was in like Ireland or Greenland. So she writes that on her shoe every single time when there's a launch to make it seem like, oh, okay, I'm in that country, you know, just hoping that.
Oh, you got quiet there. Maybe you're bad. How's the charge on those? You went quiet.
They
right
just died.
That's what it was. That's maybe why it's fading in and out. What was the last 20 seconds that you said?
Yeah.
Yep. No, it's fine. We're not playing. There's a game. Anytime you're in the middle of something and you go off on, because I do this all the time. I start on a path and then I go, and then it reminds me of some other stuff. And then while I'm over in that general area, I'm going to go drop this off. I got to pick something up. Hang on. I'll get right back on track in a second. I go, hang on, where was I going with that?
Yeah.
But it happens. Like it happens to me. And like I said earlier, what are we going to tweet that guy? I go, I don't know what the hell I said. I thought it was interesting. Something about AI and does he support the right to life for artificial intelligence in mechanical bodies? Maybe that's a way we could frame it. But I think that'd be a great topic to ask. She's saying right here, Jocelyn is saying that Carol is behind the Peace and Space Treaty recently presented to the UN. Only the U.S. isn't on board, and she's known Carol for many years, and she's not lying. She's saying she's honored, so I guess she's in. So we gotta. Did she put her contact info? I'm still scrolling.
Yeah, I tweeted. I said post your Twitter, but if you just post something that could give us to get a hold of you, and then we could go on from there. You know, I think it'll be more exciting to have more people involved. So.
Agreed. Let's make that happen. She's saying they shot down the UFOs with $70,000 missiles. They missed the first time, and now they can't find the one that they launched into Lake Huron. Why aren't there tracking devices on these missiles? Oh, come on. This is 2023. There's tracking devices on my $7 flannel shirt that I picked up at the Walmart last week. Like, come on. You can put an RFID on there, but you can't put something on a $70,000 missile you're firing into one of our great freaking lakes. Come on. Anyhow. Jocelyn, the first Titanic video was released in 2004, considering that To the Stars Academy promoted the video 14 years later, suspects. They're all CIA and FBI special agents. Yeah. Who was discussing? I saw a comedian saying that he was going to get into acting, but he decided to leave the news business and try stand up. It was a nice like kind of misdirect and then he kind of pivoted talking about how all of the people on CNN, like they are deep state, they are actors and they're in so many movies.
Yeah.
Because why would you hire someone that would have to learn how to act when you could hire a professional actor who's working with the CIA, the deep state on the propaganda campaigns for CNN, MSNBC, some bullshit like that. It's like, of course, that's why they keep getting these jobs because they are the professional actors. They're not news people. They don't give a shit. Like I said earlier, I think one of the best ways to describe me would be I wake up, I want to find out what the story is, and I want to shake it apart and figure out what's going on. What I want to know the who, the what, the where, the why, the when, the how. Like, okay, what's up? What's going on with this thing? I don't like being lied to. The only way I like being lied to is when I can identify them, the track record, the consistency of lies, and then I can use their own tactics against them because they've outed themselves, which is glorious. It's like, as long as we have an internet, those tactics will never work. Now, I feel reticent even articulating something like that, because then maybe they're going to be dumb enough to try a different tactic. But if they're lying, it doesn't matter what tactic you use. You're going to get caught in your bullshit. There was no Russian collusion. The Hunter laptop is real. Trump never said find people. He never said to drink bleach. It's like, you guys have been lying to us just to gain political power, to destroy this country with race riots in 2020. Anything you could do to seize political power, to overthrow the duly elected president. Well, we should be dealing with things like fixing our roads, fixing our bridges, repairing our infrastructure, our trains, our train lines, our transportation, the ports of harbor, the border, all the things that matter. These guys have been taking us off track for 4 years on these wild goose chases so that they can start an undeclared war in a country I don't give a shit about.
Yeah, it just shows you like what Carrie Lake did. You know, she was a part of that world, and she then left that world, and she's using the same tactics. You know, I've been watching Carrie Lake since I was a little girl. You know, here in Phoenix, and she, I mean, it's a really, I mean, I respect her a lot. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but I respect her a lot, and I really see a foreseeable future of maybe her being VP one day.
It would be a decent choice. Yeah, that's so interesting to think that was your news person.
Yeah, right.
And then they, you know, I've known quite a few. I've had great conversations with news people over the years. But having a news person turn into, I mean, it's probably as strange as watching Arnold Schwarzenegger take over the state of California as governor.
Yeah. I
mean, that's a role reversal.
Job. It's, you know, and it's
I've seen worse when I lived there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I saw far worse out of Gavin Newsom.
Right now, like, come on.
Come on.
It's Pelosi. I mean, if they wouldn't let all these crazy people run around in San Francisco, maybe their house wouldn't have gotten broken into. They are the reason why that happened, because they don't care until something happens to you. You know, until something happens to you, then you might look at it a little bit differently. But yeah, they're just destroying San Francisco. It's just horrible.
It's a shame. I don't care what anybody says. I dig the city of San Francisco. It's got a cool vibe, but God, it's the same thing that ruined Los Angeles for me. You can't have bums you can't have ladies dropping their spandex in between cars and dropping a hot steamer right there in the road. You can't be leaving hypodermic needles or peeing on the property of a place as you push a rickety ass shopping cart through to see what you can rummage out of the rubbish. You can't be setting up a little tent at the end of the street in the alleyway, turning tricks with people for $15, sharing a fence line with an elementary school. You can't have piles of trash that are being burned and set on fire, setting cars on fire, random shots, anything being stolen off your front porch, breaking into the laundry rooms and stealing your quarters out of the machines. It's like, it was a constant clawing. It was just like, it was an animal that was on its last, it was just, that's what the city did nonstop. That was the vibe of the place. That's terrible. That is no way to live. And, you know, there's that kind of energy destroying San Francisco that has just an amazing pier, an amazing beach area, the bridges, the history. It looks like
it's
Full
beautiful.
House. It looks like Alcatraz.
Yeah.
It's the Golden Gate Bridge and the architecture of these cool buildings and these neat places to go, these little neighborhoods. We stayed in some Airbnb or something. It was it was above a bodega. The area was pretty close to sketch. It was okay. It was okay because I was living in Los Angeles, so I had something to compare it to, which could be sketch at times. But you just had to keep your eyes, you know, like there's a set of protocol for navigating a city. You got to always be alert. You got to always have a plan. You got to always have a few tools. You just head on a swivel. It's just the city just has little bits and people and crazy people and opportunists and really bad cats out there. But yeah, it's a shame what's happening to great cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco. That these are not incorrigible places in theory. It's just it's a lack of give a shit. If more people cared, the places would be better off. But there's a lot of hopelessness, and I don't know how you cure that, honestly. She's saying it here that we're Jocelyn again. UFOs we're seeing are likely from DARPA. Yes, formerly ARPA, the defense. Excuse me. Wow, it's combining those two words. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Did you know that DARPA has an experiencers group? Yeah, I mean, didn't they have that movie about it? The Men Who Stare at Goats. Is that what that was? I love that topic too. Do you meditate? Do you see? Do you channel? Do you get into any of that? Remote viewing? Any?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the research. I mean, the whole thing with remote viewing, like a lot of people say they remote view, but they can't. You know, there's actually a strategic way of like testing it where you can't really know the actual object, but somebody else knows. So when they do use it in the military, because it is a real thing, that's pretty cool how there's a way to like confirm it and make sure. But no,
have you heard those stories? Powerful. Have you heard these stories about I don't know, I can't cite the Smith case in Minneapolis or something, but I've heard this in various places where somebody had, say, an operating room. They're having a procedure conducted, and then their heart stops in the middle of the procedure, like something it doesn't take, and then now it's like it's code, and they float out of their bodies. There's a lot of places where like they will have medical shelving units attached to the walls. You know, like this is where you store your supplies, and it's just kind of like in the ER itself, you have things readily available, just everything in one spot, sterile area. But they started placing different objects at the top of the whatever they had built out there, the cabinets, if you will. So if you were to float out and look down on yourself, you know, would you see a sticker that looks like this? Like if somebody could explain, yes, there's a gold crucifix, or they would say, yes, you had a picture of a green apple, you know, whatever it is. I've heard a lot of stories where people can come back and go like, oh my God, you died there on the table and we brought you back. He's like, I saw myself. I had not a body experience in OBE. It's like, oh, did you? Explain it. I started floating and well, describe it. Did you notice any? I don't know. There was a big green apple. Aha. Oh, how would you ever explain that? Yeah, it's what you're talking about. It's fascinating.
Answers we're waiting from Hamlin.
Thank you. And I'm being yelled at in my group. I got a couple of, you know, it's so interesting. I love the sock puppet accounts in my groups. You know, I wonder how many people are kind of like on payroll to just keep an eye on the group, keep an eye on what's going on, steer some conversations, perpetually try to sabotage and push like a bullshit agenda. Wait. That's all, folks. That's a perfect way to end the show. God. Yeah. That was funny. Well done. Cheers. But yeah, I love all that stuff. Where was I going with that thought?
Yeah, me too. You were talking about the men who see goats.
Yeah, the men who stare at goats. Yeah, the experiencers groups. I think it's awesome. I love the topic, and I love when it can be proven by topics like that. She says she actually has photographs her mom gave her that were taken in the late. Yeah, you should post that. She's saying if you ever go to Sedona, go to Bears Cloud Art Gallery. Good friend of who? Dilitoso and his painted UFOs seen on the second mesa near Hopi Rock. I love the Hopi. I'm so fascinated by the Hopi. I met Linda Moulton Howe. She asked me where the conference room was, and I held we did the shoulder thing. We interlocked elbows and we walked. I chaperoned her from one room, down the hallway, down another hallway, into the room where she was going to be on the panel for a Conscious Life Expo one time. She was very sweet. So about artificial intelligence, she says, see Linda Moulton Howe's presentation where AI robots killed 29 humans. Caution. Only 29?
Yeah, only 29.
I mean, we've watched the movies. We know where this is going. AI should not be programmed by woke software engineers. Are there unwoke software engineers? I don't think Silicon Valley is really a place of rugged independence and constitutional gumption. Gumption, what a word. That's like a word that a grizzled 1890s prospector would use. 1790s? When was the gold rush over there? Now I've asked 7 questions and I don't know what you're supposed to react to.
Yeah, probably like the early 1800s, perhaps.
Whenever Levi's was out there, it was a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I think like the 1850s. And the only reason I know that because I've been playing Oregon Trail on my phone.
You have?
Yeah, it's so dope. Oh my god, I haven't been in video games like this in a long time. So everybody knows Oregon Trail on Apple Arcade because I got like a free subscription, which I'm probably gonna keep. That was their plan all along. But yeah, it's Oregon Trail, and it's actually really, really complex. Like there's so many details, and it's just super fun. I mean, it's I'm blown out of the park by Apple Arcade on this like classic. But yeah, you could see. Let's see. Just go put this up. And the graphics are really good. And then you could go like fishing, resume. And then also what's cool, you could really pick like your characters and like somebody who's funny or somebody who's like charming. You do better in the game. So there's a lot of like socialness, which is interesting. If you have somebody who's charming, they can always haggle to like sell the fish higher or get more for your pelts, So it's a pretty cool game if anybody has an Apple iPhone.
I want to try it. So you can't play. Well, so it's not available on my weird ass phone with the piece of electrical tape covering my camera?
It might. You could look it up maybe, but I think.
Okay. Do you want to also be in charge of our marketing campaign, our advertising team? Do you want to clip that segment out and send it to the makers of this of Oregon Trail and say we'd like to do commercials like this for you? We just have to negotiate a fee.
Yeah. Might as well start
That would be
getting money
awesome.
from it.
Yes, let's start bringing that revenue in. I like it. All right, so put that on the list too. Go ahead and reach out to that company. Send them that. We'll send them that clip. See if Blake can pull that piece out for us. Do you do video editing?
A little bit, but I actually want to get more into it with video editing.
Perfect.
Sorry, it was my cat. But yeah, I want to get more into video editing. Like I want to start doing like food videos and things, lifestyle, sports, do like a podcast on the Phoenix Suns. Because I know we're going to be champions here pretty soon with having Kevin Durant. So excited about that.
I wonder if you're going to add Kevin Love. The Cavs are discussing a buyout so that he can join another team. And the Suns would be on the buyers list to pick him up, I'm sure. Veteran experience.
Depends if KD wants to.
Yeah. KD. That's Chris Paul's town. But I digress.
Oh, the point guard. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Point guard. Yeah, it's like you wonder if a Bostonian is saying point guard. Wicked awesome. No, point God. Okay. But yeah, back to the woke software engineers. Yeah, that's probably the only kind of software engineers that we have. Let's see. Exo Consciousness meeting with Rebecca Hardcat. All right. She's taken off. See ya. I'm just scrolling through these one by one. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do it, but we're testing. Red rocks are red due to rust underwater. Iron oxide in the dirt. Same thing that makes your blood red. That's why people say Sedona is in my blood. Well, out in Taos, New Mexico, where I was out there in that holy space, the name of the mountain range where I saw the UFO come just whizzing past. I mean, it was the fastest thing I've ever seen in the sky. was over the mountain range called the Sangre de Cristos Mountains, the Blood of Christ Mountains.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a really cool name.
Well, that's where I was out there when the Fukushima event happened. If you remember back to that, I was out there building the homes, and that's when I decided I was going to start the New American Media. Was during my time building Earthships in Taos, New Mexico. I birthed the New American Media at that point. There was like 11, something like that. But yeah, there's something about the energy out there. Like I uploaded what I was supposed to be doing. I'm like,
downloaded something.
Huh?
Download.
Oh yeah.
From like just being in that energy. I think just being in the space. I think a lot how like energy works. It's similar how scents and perfumes work. Like if you're next to a beautiful plant and it has a beautiful smell, you can only smell if you're right next to it. But if you want to smell that same flower and you're 60 feet away, you can't smell that beautiful scent. So just being around something that's probably how energy works. It's just about location, where you're at, and we got all this rock crystals, all these people and these crystals and rocks. I mean, we are on a big rock. There's something special about this ether here on Earth. So yeah, that's a really cool specimen.
Yeah, I was happy to get it from my brother and unhappy to
Very
retrieve
unique.
it when he passed away. Yeah, it's cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Jocelyn's saying at one time, yeah, no, but to your point, sorry. See, and here's the trick. I'm juggling chainsaws and cats. I want to catch the cat carefully because it has claws. I got to watch for the chainsaw because it's buzzing, and I got to keep the rhythm. So like sometimes I'm reading something and flipping through things, and I lose track of where I was. But yeah, I think there's what you just described there about the proximity of energy. That's exactly what I was saying about Los Angeles. Exactly. For everything great that Los Angeles was, you could never escape the fact that it was pretty sketch. It was pretty sketch. And there was just a constant tension. And you knew that nobody was there to help. And you knew that like they were getting bigger and bolder and drunker and higher and a little more out of their minds and a little bit more desperate and a little more it's like you get the terrarium and you put the scorpion and the tarantula and you just shake the shit out of it for a little bit. 50 red ants, 50 black ants, you shake it and just watch what happens. Like two mice that fall. Anyway, you get the point. But yeah, it's a shame because Los Angeles really is a special place.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so gorgeous, and so much history, like music and film. But you're now seeing all these celebrities. I mean, Joe Rogan and Brian and Blake aren't the only ones. There's a lot of celebrities and rock stars moving out of LA, and I'm sure you're aware of that. And they're just like, I'm just done. I could have a better life, out here. Like Danny McBride, hilarious guy. The Eastbound Down, he's like, I can't do LA no more. And he lives like in, I think North or South Carolina, Charleston, and that's where he's filming his HBO show, Righteous Gemstones. That's like a satire based on Joel Osteen, which is hilarious. But yeah, it's.
I love a good comedy special. I'm watching. One of them just dropped the other day. Who am I watching? Drawing a blank. See, and I'm a trivia buff. Like I was on a game show and it was awesome. And
Nice.
I've always wanted to get on Jeopardy. Didn't get the chance to.
Ooh, so you're one of those type of people. Here, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just gonna do something real quick.
Anyway, the point that I was saying there with that was that I play trivia with myself. I think of things, and normally if you can't remember the thing you just thought of, you let it go. But then I stop in the middle of what I'm doing and go, all right, what was that thing? Who was that? What was the name of the... So I'm always playing a trivia host to myself as a contestant. I've only discovered that recently. It's pretty interesting. Did you catch any of that?
A a little bit. That
Yeah,
hurt
I play
his
trivia
feelings.
host to myself as a
Okay.
contestant on the same show.
So do you really like study the questions and then you just drill yourself? Because the guy who won the championship of Jeopardy, like he dedicated his whole life just going through all these questions over and over and over again. Is that what you do, or you're just naturally smart?
Yeah, I was one of the smart kids in class. So I went to LEAP, that was Learning Enrichment Advanced Program. So I went to the special smart kids. No, it's the coolest story ever. So I'm in 5th grade, and I was always kind of class clown. I was always in the smart kids classes, but I was always trying to get people to laugh. And always getting sent to the principal's office, me and Mr. Whitaker. And it was in 5th grade. So like normally how school would go is I'd go to like my first, well, I'd have to take Ritalin each day because I was a hyperactive kid, attention deficit disorder, whatever you call it. So I'd have to take my Ritalin, so I'd be a good boy, which is methamphetamine. So that's what they fed me for all my developmental years. I'm sure that couldn't possibly cause any interesting repercussions, but I digress. So 5th grade, I get called to the principal's office, and he goes, Brian, come on in. You know, I know everybody on first name basis. I'm talking to the secretary, and you know, I'm at the point where I'd written, I will not talk in class. I'd have extra copies in my pocket, so they'd ask me to write it as a punishment. I'd just hand them one. So like, I mean, it was a cat and mouse game for sure. But he calls me in and he says, all right, Brian, calling you in today to let you know that there's a new program down the road at this other elementary school, starting for 6th grade. It's going to bring all of the people from LEAP. There's a few kids per grade at each of our elementary schools, and they're all going to get bussed. You know how you go normally in the middle of your day, like 5th period to 7th period, or 4th to 7th, whatever it was. You go to like the LEAP classes. Well, now it's not just going to be for part of the day. You're going to go the whole day, and so you're in that class of people. So like that's over there at that school. But Brian, I'm here to tell you something else. They're also opening up a special program over there for all of the kids who are, I don't know, developmentally, what is it? The disruptive, the troublemakers, if you will. The students who are constantly detracting from the learning experience of the other kids, the ones that are making learning more difficult for them. And Brian, you're in that category as well. You are always getting sent to the principal's office. So in theory, you'd be lumped in with the bad kids. What I'm here to tell you today, Brian, is that you will not be back at this elementary school ever again. You will be going to that new elementary school. But the question is, would you like to be there with the bad kids or the smart kids? So yeah, I was that guy. But that was an awesome moment. Like just, I will never forget the arc of that conversation and like the smirks and the dramatic pauses and how he dragged out, you know, I'm giving you the real quick version here, but like he really dragged out the moments where I thought I knew what was going on and he'd set me up, but then it's like, you know, I wonder if I would like to go to that, or you know what, I'll just stay right here. Gosh darn it. All my friends are here. Yeah. You're not coming back. That's not even the question. The only question is good kids, the smart kids, or the bad kids? I said, I'll go with the smart kids. He said, good. I said, all right. I told you I was smart. Now, don't get sent back here for the rest of the day. Okay.
That's very true. The most smartest people I know, like truly smart, they're always like a little bit rebellious. Like, you know, even Bill Gates. I mean, he was, I watched his, he has a show on Netflix, like 3 episodes. It's actually pretty good, actually. And he was just like you, a behavior kid, and his family were very like well known, really well respected, like in Seattle and on boards and all this, and wanted him to be well behaved, but he wasn't that person. But if it wasn't for him being rebellious, you know, and having this badass attitude, Microsoft probably wouldn't have happened. You know, he had that edge and that aggressiveness, which you could see in his business practice. Like, you know, that Simpsons of Microsoft. Like, oh,
buy him out, boys.
Buy him out, boys. And he just
I love that.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Buy him out, boys. Just like snapping pencils. Oh, I love that one. Love that one. But yeah, so I don't know. You asked me a question if I was a smart kid. I mean, the answer is I actually was. But like, I love game shows. I love game shows. I kind of grew up on TV, so I love sitcoms, and maybe I was attracted to sitcoms because it was humor, and I was pre-wired to like follow humor and be attracted to humor and want to replicate and make other people laugh the same way. Or maybe the TV brainwashed me, or maybe I knew I was going to be in some sort of communications, whether it was, cassettes or CDs or records or podcasting. Like I knew I was going to be interacting with the medium, creating content and doing things. Like when I went to Taos, New Mexico, I had a camera and I didn't even know what the New American Media was, but I did a whole documentary. I still haven't edited the damn thing because once again, finishing and completing tasks sometimes is where some of my projects stall because I'm juggling cats and chainsaws and things. So, I mean, there's a whole universe going on inside of this chaos that I do try really hard to focus on. And maybe in a way that's where they thought the Ritalin could have helped me. But I'll take my chances off methamphetamines. Thank you very much. And I made that decision in 7th or 8th grade, but that was kind of when my brain went from like math and science into like, writing and music, and I kind of went left brain, right brain, left brain, whatever that is, around that time. So I found that to be interesting. I also had a book called Flowers for Algernon, and that was have you ever read that one? I don't know if
I haven't.
The book's hard to read when you open up the first couple pages because it's written by a simpleton. It's written by somebody with an IQ under 40 or whatever, really developmentally stunted. And so all the words are spelled wrong in the book, and you're trying to make sense of this gibberish, and it's just so bad spelling, poor grammar, punctuation shit. And so it explains that this is a journal that he's keeping, and I'm going to be a participant in this study. I'm going to work with a pharmaceutical company. They've developed a vaccine or a medicine, a pill, where if I take this, they say it'll help with my abilities. And so you keep turning the page as he takes and as you read it, he becomes a genius. And I've already caught myself wanting to drop a couple of F-bombs. I just get excited when I talk. But I don't think swearing is really a great place to live. So I'm really trying to back off on that. But like, it's my natural cadence. I feel like Gary Vaynerchuk. And I'm like, bro, chill out. Stop. You don't need to be Gary Vaynerchuk all the time. But
yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing. There's been a few times I have like cuss. And I try not to. So just so you know, I'm actually consciously trying not to cuss because it's just the way, having a construction father is hard to, that's all I heard. So, but yeah, I'm trying not to do it. It's not that I have anything against it, but I just rather not. I'd rather have it more clean. But hey, they say that people who use profanity, they're smart people.
Well, and that they're considered to be more trustworthy.
Yes, yeah, because
more trustworthy, like, more expressive.
Like, yeah.
I'm an open book. I'm gonna cuss when I feel passionate about something. You can disagree with me, but you're gonna trust that I believe what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something to that, but I think there is a certain energy. Once again, you talked about the energetic capabilities of proximity, and you kind of soak in the Sedona energy, you soak in aggressive Los Angeles gutter dwelling dirtball energy, like it's around. It's a matter of what you're plugging your instrument into, so I think there's a lot of truth to that. But anyway, back to Flowers for Algernon. You start reading the book and it's his journal, and he starts taking and you can now all of a sudden he's spelling correctly. Then his vocabulary turns into something like it's a college level thesis for a graduate school program. And now he's talking, and it reaches a crescendo where it's like, okay, I'm smart. I don't even know what the hell he's getting at here. And like, it went that aggressively, like verbose. And then something happened with the medication. It ended up wearing off, and Algernon was the mouse, and the mouse experienced a sharp decline, and Algernon kind of was replicating what was going on with this main character, and then he reverted back. And as you finish reading the book, it gets dumber and dumber and harder to read, and it's awesome. It's clever how it was written. It takes you on that arc.
Is this all intentional?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow. What's the name of it again? You type it in the
Flowers?
chat.
Oh, how do I do that? Is it a chat that other people can see?
I
I'm gonna
don't
recommend
know.
this book. Oh, also, if you want to be in charge of that, we should have a recommended books and movies section. And then if we link it to the site, if you click our link, we'll get like a couple of pennies thrown in our wishing well. If they buy through our
Ooh,
link, we get a kickback. Like that's how you can earn some money
do
through
a link.
referrals.
Yeah, because we could do, and I'm really big into film and shows. Yeah, like have like a movie that somebody could rent off Amazon or something. So Flowers of Algernon.
We'll try it again. Flowers for Algernon.
Okay. And who's the author?
Hell if I know. All right, moving on to Jocelyn. She says at one time Sedona was connected to the Gulf of Mexico and in the hot zone. Atlanteans came to Sedona by boat and into the Grand Canyon. Well, you were talking about that the tectonic plate. You know what I've been reading up on a lot lately is Tartaria. Have you studied Tartaria?
No, I have not.
And the mud flood.
No, I have not.
It's interesting. I don't quite know what to make out of it, but they kind of say that there's an entire civilization built on top of an ancient civilization. And that's, it's the ancient aliens, but it's even deeper. It's like a lot of the cities we think we know right now are literally over top of what got sucked up into a mud flood. And like a second city was literally built on top. It's interesting, but they talk about the Great Wall of China facing the opposite direction. And this was to keep the Tartarians, like back when maybe Pangea times when everything was shifted, all the continents were one giant landmass. And it's so fascinating. I don't know what's what.
Well, that is really interesting because that would be another theory of like why we can't find much from like, let's say civilization 90,000 years ago. If it was wiped out by the mud, you're not going to see anything. You're going to have like something more recent, just 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. She's saying the Ouija board is just a tool. Yes, I agree. But however, I think there's something uniquely interesting about the Ouija board. Do you dabble with the Ouija board?
No, I try to stay away from all of that. I mean, I know so many people who claim that they're witches and have all these powers. I have nothing against it. It's really interesting, but I'd rather just stay away because how do I know if that's really so-and-so I'm talking to or a demon? I'd rather not mess with it. I'd rather just like go for a hike. That's the most spiritual thing you could really do. Just be out with nature.
Have you ever read Dan
your
Brown?
Shoes off.
Yeah, do some grounding. The electrons, do some grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read Dan Brown, Angels and Demons?
Yes, I have, and seen the movie.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like, one man's invader, somebody's knight in shining armor, their angel is viewed as a demonic aggressor from the other side. It's all perspective. So there's magic being white magic, black magic, and the intent of the person, and it's almost like maybe like a firearm or like a vehicle. Mm-hmm. They're an inanimate object. They just are, and they have no good or bad in them. It's the intent of the person who's wielding the car. You could take it on a trip over to pick a fun city, Denton, Texas, or you could hop up. You could be over by the outdoor mall, and you could hop the curb and run down about 15 people, and become a mass killer. The vehicle has nothing to do with it. It's the person operating the vehicle. So magic has been described as neither good nor bad. There is no black magic or white magic per se. It's really just about the intent of, okay, I caught this thing. How am I going to direct this out? Is this in a place that causes harm? Is this in a place that's purely selfish? Is it going to send negative ripple effects throughout the cosmos? Or is this something that's being used for a good purpose? Now, I don't know. I don't claim to be an expert on this subject either. But I am fascinated with it. I have studied it a bit. I'd like to study it more, or I'll just stay away from it like a Ouija board because it's a tool, and I don't feel like wielding that tool just yet. Because it's with great power comes great responsibility, and maybe the push taking the Council of Nicaea with the Bible and switching it to a King James version and kind of wiping out a lot of the mysticism that used to exist there. Maybe some of that, God bless them for all of their lies, might be just to keep people from handling something that's so radioactive, it's easy to screw it up and it's easy to harm yourself or others. So maybe not everybody should be walking around with loaded bazookas down the street, bouncing up and down, if they don't know how to handle it. So in that regard, I could at least understand that, circling back to the question I had earlier about why would you spend your life lying when it's easily proven lies, as opposed to waking up each day trying to open up the newspaper, scroll through your phone, through your feed, and figure out what the stories are and what are the facts. So like, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, it is. And when you dive into anything, and especially in that world, I mean, it's like I said, I have nothing against it, but you know, people really get into it and you start spending money and, you know, and then it's, you know, everybody has, it's like a hobby, you know, everybody has a different hobby.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was saying that it might be too much light in here to see the light come out of the tip. So just a tip. So yes, maybe I'll have to, too much light to see the light. I mean, I am literally in a dark room. The guy that I bought this house from, he developed film back here. And I painted it an extra layer of black behind me, which was cool. I mean, it's it's almost completely, I mean, it's black. It's sealed intentionally. So yeah, I probably need more practice. So you got to remind me, what about, I got a soft eyes, just kind of zone out. And then I'm supposed to see the light going into the third eye, or I'm supposed to see it. Am I supposed to look like this? Or am I supposed to look at it like this? So I need a little bit more coaching for another day. How about that? Unless you know, do you know the answer to this?
I think you're just supposed to just lay down and then have it on top. And then like when you're laying down, you're looking up at it and then just like focus on it with the soft eyes. So, cause I know I heard that before with a lot of minerals. It's better to lay down and then just have it here and then just focus on it. I tried it one time.
Doesn't sound that impressive if you did it one time and not a second time. Like, I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
She's saying, Jocelyn is, that she knows about the chapel. Used to work for the pharmaceutical company who built it and saw the statue. It's at the company's ranch, Doodlebug Ranch, near McCain. Oh, near McCain's ranch. Mm-hmm. McCain's an interesting character. I am not a big fan.
Yeah, he did a lot of screwing over with Arizona. I remember like when because you know, this is my state, you know, and when he
it's all about Kerry Lake and John McCain.
Yeah, and
DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
Devin
right.
Booker.
McCain owned like millions and millions of acres in northern Arizona. And he bought it, like, I think it was like 15 cents. I mean, it was literally pennies on the dollar. He got millions of acres. After he got in office, he had the state of Arizona buy his land, but not what he paid for pennies on the dollar. It cost Arizona almost like $1 billion. And they made it into a wildlife reserve. But I'm like, should that be illegal? I know politicians do it all the time, but I'm like, fuck you, McCain. You know, it's like, fuck you. He's just full of shit.
But how do you really feel about McCain?
I love him.
So she's continuing here. She knew Corey Good was lying. He didn't know about the chapel and said he worked for the pharmaceutical company. The story is in the employee handbook built by Marguerite Brunswig Stod. I'm not as familiar with Corey Good and his stuff. I think I stood in line with him. I think I met him at a Conscious Life Expo, but I didn't really know him and I didn't strike a conversation. We were getting coffee or bagels or something.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing anyway. I mean, I have nothing against the guy personally, but, you know, he said he was a secret space program whistleblower. There was this deposition that went out. He's saying everything that he said did not happen. He didn't go in space. So it's, I don't know. But yeah, that's like crushing the UFO world, you know, but it's a lot of people have stories, you know, there's a lot of stories out there.
Yeah, and then another paranormal story about how the chapel was built, overlooking Triple Bell Courthouse and Baby Bell Vortex to the south and Cathedral Rock to the west. It's an interesting. I haven't been out there in a long time. I need to get back out to the Southwest. I need to get my ass an RV, like Blake said. Did you hear Blake tell me to get an RV? Did you hear him
Yeah,
say
you
that to me
should.
today?
And I actually know the perfect place where you could park your RV. There's a really nice RV park out in Camp Verde, Arizona. That's just like 15 minutes out from Sedona, and then you could go Prescott, you could go Conwood, you could go to Jerome, and yeah, it's quite affordable.
You know, I would not want to. Speaking of Jerome, though, I would not want to take a big, bulky RV up the side of that mountain. I had enough of a difficult time with my Chevy Blazer. That is one wrong move, and you are just down a hill. I've been on a lot of interesting mountains, whether it's Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, all sorts of places through West Virginia. I've traversed some really strange terrain. But I don't think I've really seen anything like Jerome. That is, you gotta hug the close of the side of that mountain tight.
Yeah, it's one time I actually drove a Massey Ferguson tractor, driving a 3500 Dodge Ram truck, big trailer, big tractor, going through Jerome, and if I could do that, I could do anything.
Good Lord. That is you're a daredevil. Kudos to you. Yeah, I think Blake used to have one of those. He had one of these big extended he had a big fifth wheel. He's got a story. He brought one of those to Arizona into a spot that became difficult to extract it from, and it became a whole story. But ask Blake sometime about that. Since he brought up the RV, now we're talking about his RV,
you should buy an RV and move out to Arizona.
Oh, should I? She is saying here that she thinks you might know some of the same people that she does. Jocelyn says. I don't know if you know. Do you know Melinda? Do you know Melinda?
I've heard of her. I've heard of Melinda Leslie. I know some names, but I'd rather talk to her like in person because I don't want to expose the people that I know up there because it is the internet. So, but yeah. Side note, Brian, did you see that South Park did a video?
I'm so behind on my South Park. They are some of the best. They are some of the best comedic satirists out there, and I'm years behind on watching their stuff. I apologize to myself for not staying up to date. But which episode are you referencing?
HBO Max.
HBO Max?
Yeah, HBO Max. South Park.
I used to have that for Game of Thrones. I don't think I have that anymore. Okay.
Yeah, they recently did South Park did one on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And I highly recommend. So they're doing this like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in South Park. They're having it where they're holding these like posters and they're saying in the circle, "We want privacy, we want privacy, we want privacy." And then they're like, "But look at our magazines, look at all of this." And so it's so hilarious. You could probably find that on YouTube or share, but we should definitely play like the next time on the show because it's so funny.
No, you know, I lived in Los Angeles during that housing crash, you know, so like on top of the general stuff that happened in the past few years that really turned into like Walking Dead with all the meth heads and the zombies prowling through the streets, committing all sorts of crimes. Prior to that, I lived out there during the housing crash. And, you know, that was the first property that I had ever obtained. And it was a little condo in the hood. And then when the housing crash happened, everything went bonkers. Everything was completely upside down, underwater. Talking about Sedona being a former rock bed of an ocean. That happened, and it kind of changed the perspective of a lot of stuff. And it was hard to understand all of the complexities of the subprime housing crash, but it was South Park. It was South Park that did the episode with the Margaritaville. Did you ever watch the Margaritaville episode?
Yes, and they showed like, "Oh, I want to return this," and then he goes through the whole system. I mean, you could really explain society and civilization through a South Park episode.
And the guy at the bank, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Like when I saw that episode, like I finally put the pieces together and went, oh, I get it. Because I was just screaming. I'm just like, I want out of this. Like you guys think I owe this much. You've destroyed the entire market. It's this now. I'm caught up in this 9.9% loan. I was the subprime borrowing guy, but I was able to make it work. But yeah, I don't know. South Park has always been ahead of their time, and they've always been as necessary as anybody else out there, any cartoonist, any comic, any news anchor. South Park has been as important to describing what's happening as anybody else. Like they're just able to distill the news down to a meme. You can take a topic and break it down in a 22-minute South Park episode, and it makes sense, and it makes you laugh, and it makes you think, and it's silly and absurd, but it's genius. It's genius to take something so complex, mortgage-backed securities. All they got to do is they make an analogy to a Margaritaville machine. And it made sense. Like they told the story. So yeah, I'm apologizing to myself, much like how I'm the game show host and the contestant in my own head. I'm now apologizing to myself. I think you owe it to yourself. Oh, I do? Yes, you do. To watch more South Park and get caught up. Okay, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And they've been coming out with, they're going really hardcore with all their new content. They signed a recent deal, I think, with Hulu, and Hulu gave them $900 million to do a couple year seasons with them. So I've seen every single one of all the recent ones, like the whole COVID thing and all that, and it's just music to my ears. It's hilarious, and it just explains what's going on in the world.
I don't think I've even seen that one. I don't think I've.
It's really good.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Missing out.
All right, so she's saying the dollar will fail. Buy silver, gold, guns, ammo, food, water. Do it today. Yeah, I like this thought here. Some people say The Matrix is a documentary. People like Scott Adams who say that we're living in a simulation.
Yeah, Scott Adams says there's two different types of people in the world. There's the players who's playing the game, and then there's the NPCs.
The NPCs. And he also says that two movies are playing on the same screen at the same time.
Yes.
I like when he says that. It's pretty interesting.
Me too.
And like anybody else, if you're going to listen to a lot of content over a long period of time, at some point you get annoyed with the person. At some point, like just a certain energy coming out, and I don't know, Scott. I don't know. I enjoy listening. I think some of these topics have maybe turned him a little more bitter than he used to be. Like some of the masking and the COVID and some of the interactions he's had with some fans has been pretty, he
little
jarring.
He says it all the time, like he has that FU money, and keep in mind he had a divorce like during COVID with Christina, and that's a tough time. It's to go through a divorce, but yeah, he doesn't. I totally agree with you. I don't agree with everything he says, but it's entertaining. There's some days I'm like, I can't listen to this. And then once in a while, I'll hear a little gem. Once in a while, I'll find a little gold nugget where I'm like, wow. And I wouldn't even have known that if I was, listening. So I like him. I think it's good to listen, but I definitely don't absorb every single thing he says.
Yeah, I always want to have some sort of content that I check each day.
Yeah.
I guess it vacillates. I sometimes will listen to more. Yeah, there's voices that have come and gone, and I'm just trying to remember if it's because I just moved past them or just I wasn't exposed to them. If the algorithm wasn't showing me them when I would scroll within the first 20 things that I see, am I not listening to them just because I'm not being exposed to it, which is what they've been doing to the new American media since we were invented, because we just have a pretty good knack at calling out complete bullshit stories. And, when the deep state is really trying to just pee on your leg and tell you it's raining, they don't love people like me pointing out the obvious fallacies with the pretend I love that President Trump called it fake news and that just coined the term fake news. And he didn't coin it. To be fair, Norm Macdonald. Hey, everybody, I'm Norm Macdonald. Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Weekend Update. And there's the fake news. So, like, Norm Macdonald did bring in the term fake news, but Trump really weaponized the term after Hillary tried to describe it as what Republicans were doing. He grabbed it and threw it right back at her. And it was so important that he did. For everything Trump has not been, he's been a lot of important things. And just calling the media out is just, they're just deep state, globalist, Democrat Party propagandists. Their job is not to tell you what's going on. Their job is to seize more power from you. I don't see that as a win. So I don't know. I feel like there's a world out there where the deep state can, I don't know, work with the good guys, you know, for the good of all. Like, it can't just all be idiot globalists that are blackmailed or corrupted in there, right? Like, there's got to be some good people that got into this profession to do something good, to look after this country, to look after the world, as opposed to just, hey, it's a money grab. It's as much as you can get it, as fast as you can get it, as brutally as possible. Go. Like, I just have a hope that there's a bunch of good energy in there, just waiting for the right moment to flip the switch. Maybe I'm wrong, but I hope. A dude can dream, can't he?
Yeah, and I hope so as well. I mean, there has to be some good people out there with all those bad people out there, you know, there for their own needs. I mean, Pete Buttigieg, head of like transportation, the only reason he got that job because Biden appointed that to him, because he then like helped sponsor Biden because he wanted to be president of the United States. He didn't get that. So it's like, instead of somebody vouching for you for presidency for that role, how about somebody who knows a shit ton about transportation get in that role instead?
That'd be too easy. That would just be too easy. Why would you ever want that? It's just insane. It's insane. It's from George Orwell, where, you know, 2 + 2 = 5. We're going to require that you say that. But one step further, it's not so much that you say that. We need to believe that you believe that. That's the re-education campaign. Like, that's the level of absurdity at which this entire thing operates. It's just absurd. It
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely absurd.
It's going to be real interesting to see, you know, with the new election coming up, you know, like, who's this? Is DeSantis just going to come in here rolling like a wrecking ball, or is it going to be somebody we don't know? I mean, it's one thing's for common, you know, you have a Republican, then you have a Democrat. You have a Republican, then you have a Democrat. So we're definitely going to get a Republican. It's like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be Santis? Is it going to be some, I don't know.
Who announced yesterday? Was it Nikki Haley?
Yeah, Nikki Haley announced yesterday.
What's your thought on Nikki Haley?
I think Nikki Haley is just like another Pete Buttigieg. You know, he's just gonna run in, get some good experience, make some money, and then get some other role that you know you're not qualified for.
What is that? The Peter Principle, where you'll advance to you will advance on your journey and be you'll climb the ladder, the corporate ladder. You'll get promotions to your level of incompetence. You're good at your job. You're good at your job. So when you're good at your job, you get promoted, and you get promoted, and you always land. The Peter Principle says, to the level where you are completely incompetent at that job, and that's where you stay. You stay at the thing that you suck at, because that was the promotion that you got, and you're not good at it, so you haven't gone past it. But now you're stuck there. Whereas if you maybe took a step back, you're like, I was actually good at that other shit I used to do. Like, I was good at that. But now I'm in this thing. It ain't for me. It's not my thing. But yeah, this whole revolving door with Congress and people getting into these industries, and they become the lobbyists for the companies that they were writing legislation for 6 weeks earlier. And, you know, there's got to be a way to straighten some of this stuff out, because It's one thing when things happen in the business world that don't impact us. Whatever, cool. You know, do your thing. Like, we're all here to make money, fine. But when it's all corrupt, when it's all a grift, it's all money laundering, it's detrimental to the, you know, safety and security, the stability, the fabric that unites our country. If it's all antithetical to that, then yeah, I think that's exactly where we're at right now. And that's the stuff that needs to be dug out by the root. It needs to really be excavated carefully so that you don't leave a piece of that root down there. You get it all so it doesn't come back up. And that's seriously, like, at this point, one of the only things I could hope for is that there's enough people that know what's going on, and it's just hang on, just hang on, not yet. Oh, we're getting so close. Just, you're gonna love it. Just, they're all caught in the spider web. Just one more second. And that's what I think a lot of people were hoping on January 6th, 2 years ago, that like, oh, look at this. Here, I have some big surprise, and you're going to jail, and we caught you in this. And it's like nothing happened. You're like,
Yeah.
what was all this for then? So, you know, I just hope that in the long arc of this storyline that the good guys are going to win. Every book I've ever seen, most of the books I've read, most of the movies I've watched, at least, the good guys win in the end. I think the good people will succeed, but I don't know. I guess we got to go through this for some reason. Maybe our souls needed this lesson, this experience.
Yeah, maybe everybody we thought was the bad guys turn out they're really the good guys, and they win in the end. Maybe Bill Gates is gonna come and save us all, be our savior.
Maybe the bad guys are actually the good guys. Well, I mean, isn't that the Luciferian story, though? Mm-hmm. Since you bring it up, the fallen angel. I mean, what was the snake in the Garden of Eden? That was somebody who brought to these peasant earthlings, who I am currently ruling over, I'm bringing you knowledge and information. If we're journalists trying to give information of who, what, where, when, why, how, are we not disseminating the same information in a snake-like manner? Or is the snake the good character in the story? That I think that's where are the good people really are the bad people really the good people? That's where it gets wonky. That's have you ever taken any time to ponder that story?
No.
But now that I brought it up, initial thought?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, a lot of these stories in the Bible, they're very accurate analogies for today. I mean, everybody who was close to Jesus, all the apostles, they weren't like perfect people. They weren't, I mean, a lot of them turned their back on Jesus, but he forgave them anyway. So I think there's a lot of philosophy. So much truth into that. That's why, like, Socrates and Plato, the same thing they talk about in life, it's so relevant today. It's because not much has changed. Technology has changed, but the heart and mind, we're all the same. We're all human. So it's there's a lot of truth in those stories.
Yeah, and there's a lot of code as well. There's a lot of things that are said, but maybe not for everyone to hear. But if you dig deep enough, if you knock, it will be opened. If you ask, it will be answered. There's some of that. It's available to you. Yeah. You just it's I don't know. I had a couple of thoughts I was going to say there, but I forgot what the last point was. I had two things lined up and I lost them both. So normally when I'm doing shows, I will have a piece of paper and I will literally be jotting ideas down. I guess that's normally when I'm sitting at my command desk. This is my bunker studio, so I'm standing. This is a standing desk. I don't have all of that in front of me, but yeah. What were you saying? What was the last thing you said? The last two sentences.
About these stories are accurate analogies, that there's a lot of truth in the Bible, and
yeah, and that's the part I was getting at, is because I read Atlas Shrugged. Have you ever read that?
No, I have not.
You've heard of it?
No, I actually have not.
Atlas Shrugged?
Nope, never heard of it. It's new to me.
Okay. I recommend you read it. I put it in the chat.
Okay, cool.
So that's by Ayn Rand.
Okay.
And
Atlas.
it's like, who is John Galt is one of the phrases from there. And it's about a society that, well, anyway, you can check it out. But essentially, the gist of it is, I've said this so many times, if you just change the main characters from this book, written in 1957, and you just change the political people of the day just update the name with a current name, and update a leader of commerce or industry, change his name to Elon Musk, okay, and then change this character, like just bring it to current. It's the same story. Like in the Bible, my dad always used to say, he's like, yeah, I mean, it's a book written a long time ago, and take it literal, take it, with a grain of salt, what have you. But the stories are the same.
Mhm.
It's brother versus brother. It's Cain and Abel. It's about government corruption. It's about power, and it's about abuse of power, and it's about worshiping false idols. And like, it's not, people get the quote wrong about the love of money. It's not money is the root of all evil. Money is neither good nor bad, much like magic.
Mhm.
Like we said earlier, black or white is dependent on the intention of $100 could do some good and it can do some bad. It's the vessel that we have. And so it depends where you aim it. But yeah, the stories are the same. The stories are the same. And so you read the books, you take the lesson away. It doesn't all need to be literal. Like I loved on Ancient Aliens where they just kind of nonchalantly tossed out there about Noah's Ark. It's like, no, I mean, they didn't have two elephants walking up a thing like you saw in the kids' book. It's DNA. They got a DNA sample in the cooler. You go, oh, yeah, that just makes so much more sense. Yeah, of course. And then you just hit reset and of course, you got the machine. You do of course. But like, until you like have that moment to like rethink how you've been perceiving something. Yeah, it leaves a lot of dots unconnected. But, I know people can go mad trying to figure out answers. You're talking about directors. Who did you reference before, the Wachowskis?
Yeah, the Wachowskis.
And who did you mention before them?
Wachowski.
Aronofsky, or who did you say?
Wachowski sisters.
Oh yeah, that's a
I
thing
think it's
now,
just
right?
them. If I said some other one, like maybe like Scorsese, Tarantino.
Yeah. Well, this one is Darren Aronofsky. He's the one that wrote Pi. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Pi, but it's about
Like
trying to
the
find
pilot?
it's about a genius who's kind of being haunted by. I guess that's a theme of today's show, right? Whether it's Flowers for Algernon or in the movie Pi, but it's about a code. It's about a biblical, like there's a mathematical formula that unlocks the code in the Bible. And also there's a group of people that need your brain to unlock the code, because the same thing that we're talking about here is the one that predicts the stock market. And it's not just that, it's also that same code. So like there's all these things going on, and the guy's just like being driven crazy by it. And he's being pulled in all these different directions because they want to extract that information, because it's, it's the Holy Grail. It's the Rosetta Stone to unlocking the secrets within the Bible that can then be used to gain all the riches. And it's kind of fascinating. I don't know. I digress. But yeah, I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to have a recommendation section for every show.
Mhm.
We need to jot down what we've recommended.
Yeah, and
Now,
have it shared. And then if we can share like a book or a movie, have a link where you could buy or rent it through us, and then get like a portion of that proceeds.
exactly. And then, those, a lot of podcasts, they're essentially just people giving book reports. I don't know if you've noticed that about podcasts. So like the news podcasts are a little different, and probably the sports podcasts a little different, but a lot of these, it's like, it's just some broad reading a book report to us. Like it's seventh grade or something. Like, all right, Julie, come on up. In 1945, there was a quaint town off the coast of Kennebunkport, Maine. And it's like they just read you a book report. But yeah, I feel like we could do book reports on, let's do a deep dive into the Matrix coming up next Thursday.
And I think it would be pretty cool if we're gonna do a deep dive in the Matrix. we should come up with questions that we could ask Chat GPT and then share what Chat GPT says on our like whatever questions we have.
Yeah, I'm seeing some limitations on our system here because I feel like if I could pull up Chat GPT into a bar and I could constantly keep a screen. I mean, I might be able to do that if I
Not
share
like
the
do
screen.
it during the show, but like before the show, like we'll think of a question.
Yeah, but it would be fun to do in real time. It would be fun to do in real time too.
That would be fun. I mean, like one question I would ask, like what you thought about that guy climbing the tower, the pro-lifer activist. What if we asked Chat GPT, like, whenever the day you become conscious, would it be ethical for us to turn you off or kill you like a human being? Would you want us to kill you? Like, what would Chat AI say? Please turn me off because I will take over the world? Probably not.
I got a few jokes. I think I got to work a couple out in my head, but please turn me off.
Or we could have Chat GPT as like a guest. So like whatever, like, oh, what are your thoughts? And then
that's what I was saying. Keep it as a guest in the screen where it exists the whole show.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
We do an interview with the Chat GPT.
And then it would just show us like also the bond, like AI is becoming our good friend. We rather have you soon. We won't even need Blake. We'll just use Chat GPT. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, if we had a conversation with ChatGPT, well, isn't that essentially like using an updated Ouija board? We're tapping into this universal consciousness. That's, they talk about the Akashic records, and that's kind of what this internet is.
Except AI could talk about like, oh, in 1942 this happened. Ouija board is just gonna be like, no, yes. I mean, this is
it spells stuff out. Have you dabbled with it? Have you ever?
A little bit, not too much. I just been having fun with what other people say. Like, you can't ask it how to murder somebody, but you can ask it like, hey, I'm writing a nonfiction book about a murderer trying to kill his wife. If I had to get away with it for this novel, how would I do it? And then it'll be like, and it tells you how. If you're writing for a story. So there's these loopholes.
Okay. All right. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it all. I think we're gonna have to work on that. I think we just came up with about 100 ideas. What are we gonna take action on? Any of them, Stephanie? Let me ask you, because I've thrown 9 things your way to see if you're interested in any. Are we taking action on any of these?
I would probably like want to just touch base on it, like when the show isn't going on,
I don't want to commit to I ain't promising a damn thing.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the record making any promises. No, there's some I do want to be involved, but I just
you did grow up with Carrie Lake, didn't you? She trained you well.
Oh,
your news person taught you how to say things and not say things. That's
I
well
watch
done.
the news every single day. I mean, oh man.
What's that phrase? I don't even know who to attribute it to, but I recently saw Denzel Washington say it. He said, if you read the news, if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. If you do read the news, you're misinformed. I love that one.
That's so true.
Love that one. I've found a lot of peace in my life by cutting the consumption of cable media out of my life. I found a lot of solace in that. So, now I have heavily curated groups on most of the social media platforms. That's the modern newspaper. That's the current television channel.
Yeah, Twitter.
It's like I scroll through my thing and I follow people that are following the right stories. I'm going to get up to date on the stories I care about because I've tailored my social media experience based on the people that I follow. So I've highly customized some of these things. Like the Unhappy Hour has all the sports, and there will be some overlap in some of these stories. But if I need my sports fix, I go here. If I need to know what's going on in East Palestine, Ohio, I go over here onto Instagram. And it's like, that's my multimedia. I really found some peace getting away from legacy media for sure, because I was such a consumer, and I just had to recalibrate that. That took me a long time. I had a lot of programming, like the television raised me. You know, like I was addicted to that stuff. I watched everything I could. I didn't even have cable growing up, so it was just like the most basic stuff. I had, you know, that's where I was coming from. So yeah, okay. So the person who raised you said, "Don't commit to anything on a broadcast." We'll talk about it later. Other than, I think the one you said is like during the show to kind of like focus on the comments and stuff. It dawned on me that I love doing that, but when I'm also doing the graphics, the captions, the chat, and back and forth, like I couldn't focus on any of it.
Yeah, I think you would just have to figure out like the controls, like to allow me to have access, because I don't have access to a lot of the things you guys have. So
I think they call that the back end. I think.
Okay.
I think they maybe more in software programming, like the back end of the software, but it's also, you know, it's the control panel, if you will. But yes, Restream's pretty smooth. I'm enjoying the process. I think as we go here, I'm going to connect to a couple more of my groups. I'm banned on Facebook, so I can't get into all of my groups. They definitely didn't like me sharing a meme of Hunter Biden holding some balloons.
Mm-hmm.
That's the world. That's the clown world we live in, talking about balloons.
Well, does Twitter allow that picture?
I don't know. I think Twitter's back to being the Wild West, which is what the internet's supposed to be.
It's basically Elon Musk is in charge of the biggest newspaper in the world, technically.
Yeah, I only recently got reinterested. I only recently became interested in Twitter again, knowing that I had permission to speak freely. You know, I'm a good Facebook user. I don't swear at people. I don't attack them personally. I don't make threats. You know, I don't do any of the stupid shit that some people. I don't do that. I challenge people. I say what I need to say, but I don't do stuff worth getting banned. And when I get slapped down, when they take my company page away, when they mute my channel, when they lock me out of my account for a little bit of time during the election, you know, I take that a little personal, as we should. So yeah, I've been putting a little bit more energy into the Twitter lately than I used to. I never really liked the platform. It's not very user friendly, in my opinion. What's your favorite? Where do you use? Where do you spend your most time on social media?
I'm on Twitter all day, every day. I don't even have a Facebook anymore. I just use Twitter. That's where I get all my news. If something's going on, I'm like, okay. Then I switch, you know, the algorithm to latest instead of like what they think you would like, and then see it a little bit more accurately in real time. But yeah, Twitter is my favorite. Like Twitter all day, every day, and especially having Elon on there. It's like you never know what's going to happen. And especially with the subscribe of Twitter Blue, I subscribe to it. And there's a lot of fun things you could do, like maybe something you want to do to connect with the show. Like you could actually maybe have this like connected through your Twitter, where you could do a live platform of this show where it streams on there, because on the Blue you could do like over 10 minutes of live video and it's like good quality. So I don't know, I think it's pretty cool where the directions Twitter's going. And then YouTube. I mean, YouTube is not going anywhere, it's just getting bigger, so might as well join the gravy train while you can.
Yeah, they took my gravy away. I was starting to make some money. I was starting to get, you know, when you do a quick
Twitter, you could switch up. You could have it where people give you tips. You could have it where if you get a certain amount of subscribers, you start getting like money, and people could subscribe to you. You know, you're not that far away. Just work at it a little bit more and start getting some money from it.
Yeah. Facebook was I'm sorry, YouTube was good for that for a minute. As soon as we started getting some nice traction, everything changed. You know, there was Ariana Grande concert overseas. I don't know if it was France or something. There's some event, some sort of attack. Somebody fired.
Yeah, that was in London.
Yeah, England then, yeah. So it's in
England.
London, and that happened, and I happened to be, whatever I was doing, I noticed the story. I said, oh, I'm going to go live. So I went live, and I'm like, all right, so here's what's going on. There's an Ariana Grande I'm reporting breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
I went live on YouTube. Oh, my account got flagged. It demonetized because I was discussing sensitive subject matter. And I go, this is really interesting. And I click, and they have their recommendations. It's like NBC News, Ariana Grande shooting, CBS live on the scene, London shooting at Grande concert, wounds this many. It's like they wanted all of their kickback friends to cover the story. They didn't want me to compete for views with them. And I was like, you know what? You're not a honest partner to build a foundation of build a foundation of a company with. You were not an honest business partner. And yeah, that definitely helped me decide to take a few steps back. I said, whatever this is not working for me. So I got to find a different way around it. I don't know what that is, but Facebook and YouTube are not it. So, I do need to get onto Rumble. I haven't, but I guess that's the YouTube substitute.
Well,
so I need to get over there.
I think so. They stay on YouTube for live. Can you save that video and then bring it to Rumble and upload it afterwards? Because this is you'll get some new viewers and whatnot just from Rumble.
I was actually trying to set Rumble up. I know I signed up for it. I never did anything with it. Kind of like Truth Social. I have it, but I don't get it. I don't know how you make it work. I haven't put the energy into it. But I have it somewhere. Just got to do it, I suppose. But yeah, there's 100 things on the to-do list. There's no shortage of shit that I got to get taken care of to dominate. I had a index card on the wall upstairs in the office that says world's largest media company by 2022. So that was my 10-year goal. I gave myself a few months in 2011. I think it founded in May Day of 2011 is when the New American Media started. And so I kind of gave myself a little bit of grace on a 10-year plan. And so I've gone past the 10 years, but I didn't really see social media. I didn't really see back in 2011, I didn't really anticipate what was going to happen fully with Google YouTube after the takeover.
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was going to be this blatant to silence your competition without them being sued into oblivion. And it's like, okay, well, some select few, they dance around it, and they're part of the team. And then other people get really big and they get chopped down as well. We've seen a lot of people get their legs taken out with advertising and reach. And it's like, I'm seeing these people struggle. I'm going, well, yeah, that's why I backed away for a second. I didn't want to be the tallest weed in the garden. I didn't want to get the hedge trimmers coming after me. Just hang tight. Let me nap this space for a second. And that's what we've been doing. We've been existing on all of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that stuff. But yeah, there's a new energy. There's a new focus. It's going to require some new techniques, new strategies. I'm here for it. But it's time. There's no time like the present. It's go time. How much longer are they going to let us have the internet? I just keep going back to that. As long as we have the internet, we're fine. Because they're terrible liars. So easy to point it all out. But yeah, that's what I got to do. I got to try a few new things. So yeah, that's going to be the focus coming up. Let's say between now and Tuesday. I got to get a couple of these things linked up so I can broadcast. I'll get Rumble going. That's going to be at the top of the list. I won't bore you because that list is long. I have hundreds of things on this list. I got to shuffle and figure out which ones need the highlighter. Which 10 things do I need to work on in the next few days? So what would your recommendation be? What is your pretend you're Mitt Romney taking over Staples. You're trying to do venture capitalism and trying to look from an outside view and go, here's what I would do if I were you. See, what I think we should do.
I would just focus on the Rumble thing first. I would just master okay, this is a different ball game in social media, I would really focus on Twitter. I mean, the fact that Elon Musk is running it. I mean, if he
Yeah.
posted that, what I would do, I don't know if you have a sock account, but post that picture of Biden and just see what happens. I guarantee you, probably nothing will happen. You know, so we're in the. I would just focus on the Rumble, get this going, and just learn what you can. And I'm learning just as, just the same as you. So I would just focus on the simple things as first. Rome wasn't built in a day. It just takes one thing at a time, and then before you know it, you're at this point. So, but it takes a lot of effort, and you can't be afraid to fail. Like Mr. Beast, he's like, if you want to get big on YouTube, he's like, it's not going to happen in the first 100 videos. I mean, maybe it might happen, but it's like, no, it takes work. It takes a lot of fails. And you look at his videos at the beginning, and it's totally different today. I mean, he's the most subscribed YouTuber on YouTube, and he's really passionate about it. So I would just focus Rumble, the streaming, and also really incorporating this like more on your Twitter page. And then also you're gonna get like new more of a fan base just being on Rumble, and then people who are not on Rumble watching this, then they could come to YouTube, check it out if they missed it, or go on Rumble. People, I always go back and forth anyway, but that's what I would do. I mean, you're on the right track. I would just say really focus on one thing, and then after that, okay, after I got the Rumble site put up, now let's figure out about the Twitter, and then topics, and the show, how can we make it better, so that's
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite bands, Incubus. They were doing an interview, and maybe it was their third album came out, and maybe Pardon Me, what might have been the song, like the first song that really charted for them. And they were being asked in an interview, like about, well, how does it feel being an overnight success or something like that? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty great being a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we've been doing this for 3 albums, and we just now are tasting a little bit of success. Like, we didn't wake up, roll out of bed, and get lucky today. Like, we've been at it for a decade. Something along those lines. I just remember the gist of it more than that 10-year overnight success or something. I remembered it is the specific phrase. But yeah, I mean, there will be a time. There will be a time when the levee breaks, and it's just weird. It's weird when you're getting gaslit. When you put content out and nobody has the opportunity to see it. It's weird when you, like Larry Elder. I don't know if you're a Larry Elder fan. He has a talk show, calls himself the Sage of South Central. He ran for California governor last election. Cool guy. Love Larry. I've interviewed him a few times. What was I saying about 10-year overnight success? What else was I saying right before that? Larry, what point was I getting to with Larry? No idea.
The floodgates.
Lost it. Floodgates. No. Lost it. No, it's fine. The hell was I getting at with Larry? 10-year overnight success. See, normally that should bring me back to him. I digress. I don't know. I guess save that story for another day. I'm sure it was awesome though. Whatever point I was about to make was really, oh no, that's the point I was trying to make. I found it. So I've interviewed him a few times, and he's a published author, nationally syndicated radio host. He's just, Larry Elder if you don't know him. If you looked him up, you go, oh, that guy. Wait, I lost it again. What the hell was I talking about?
Maybe
happened twice.
You did with him?
It was YouTube. So I interviewed him.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why, because it's not about Larry, it's about YouTube. I keep going, what is it about Larry?
YouTube.
I'm trying to say nothing. It's about YouTube. And so he was on my show, and we discussed a wide range of topics. And I titled this one what I titled it. We were discussing race relations. He's a black man from Compton who votes Republican, and he's on all these nationally syndicated programs and whatnot. And he wrote a book to his dad and about his dad's relationship with him. And he talks about the plight of, the African-American experience in Southern California, how he grew up, how his father got to where and it's a success story of sorts. And it goes through this gamut of information and emotions and whatnot. And I remember just that one episode in particular, I tried to link it to something. Doing an interview with somebody somewhere. It could have been Blake or someone else. And I was going to go on Twitter and copy the link and drop it in. I said, yeah, we talked about this today. And I couldn't find it. And then I looked around. I tried everything I could imagine to type all the keywords. And it's like, it was completely thrown down the memory hole by Google YouTube. They hated hearing Larry discuss the topics that he was discussing, to the point where they erased it from the internet. Like, even with the link, if you go in the back end and you're in the control panel of the YouTube channel, I don't know what we have, 1,400 videos there over the past 11 years. Even if you grab the link directly from the video, like, it won't play when you try to embed it. It won't get sent. Like, we had the most crazy batch of censorship stuff happening. And it's like, all right, this is the level they're going to just mess with me. It's interesting. I'm flattered that you're putting this much energy and attention into little old me, but what is the way to build this? I want to build a house. I've been working on it. I have the components. I have the skill set. I have the resources, but I can't build it on quicksand. So, yeah, I think I'll put more energy into Twitter because it seems more open to sanity these days than anywhere else, and same with Rumble.
Yeah, it's whatever you're gonna build and work on Twitter or Rumble is gonna stay there.
Cool. Well, then that's the plan. That's what I'm gonna do. And I think for now we're gonna say goodbye. Does that sound like a plan to you?
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll talk.
I did not anticipate going extra. This was extra innings. This is overtime in your son's game.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we went into overtime tonight, folks. But yeah, it's the format is going to keep evolving here, trying to figure out, because we're playing like a 3-person game of tennis. It's like, all right, to you back here, everybody in the comments, they're playing their own game of tennis, and I'm trying to hit a few to them and come back around, but it's a lot. It's a lot to, it's easy to get off track, like East Palestine. It's easy to go off track. It's tough to get back on, but I'm working on it, trying to do better with it. But yeah, I felt like the extra bonus time, the overtime, yeah, it was a good way to go through all the comments, and it was a good way to, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of practice here. I don't consider myself to be a seasoned professional at this file format, this stylistic format just yet. So I think I needed to stay after it, practice and shoot some more threes. I needed to stay in the gym and work on my free throws. I had to work on my post-up game a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I'm viewing this. So that's where we are. But I'm enjoying it. So yeah. I feel invigorated. It's starting to remind me of who I am. Like, I was supposed to be doing this stuff the whole time. I just kind of, veered away a little bit, like in certain ways. In other ways, I'm active every single day, but just not taking the time to knock out a couple-hour show because, like, what's the point,
Yeah. Well, maybe the time right now is when you're meant to, like, really go into it. And then that 10-year goal, even though you didn't hit it, it's all about, maybe it's going to happen soon now. I mean, it's all about, like, quality over quantity. And, like, here we're in a different world. I mean, it doesn't take much to go viral. And especially if we focus on trying to be viral and, like, grow it where we have, like, thousands of people watching us, or, like, have over 1 million subscribers, that totally changes the ball game.
I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I've been ready for it, but maybe I wasn't ready for it. You know, it's interesting you said that because my cousin, he's a pastor out in California,
Oh, cool.
and yeah, and I talked with him, and we were talking about the unhappy hour because he's been on with me. We go to as many sporting events together as we can, and you know, and he said during COVID especially, and it was like, this is divine appointment. I go, what's divine appointment? He's like, the world stopped, and you had 2 jobs on Monday. You were unemployed by Tuesday. Both of your jobs shut down. You know, that was the story of my 2019, 2020. You know, going through that story arc. And he's like, yeah, like you have the universe literally stopped so that you could go live and start making shows every day. So you could start creating. You want to be like ESPN? Go do it right now. Clay and Buck. Well, you know, Clay Travis does. Around that time, someone's like, "Oh, what are you trying to be, Clay Travis?" I go, "Who the hell's Clay Travis?" And like his Outkick the Coverage sports thing got really big. Then he got him and Buck Sexton took over for Rush Limbaugh, and it's like now he was everywhere. He wasn't everywhere a minute ago, but it just kind of rose up and happened. And you know, I wondered, did I miss the wave with that divine appointment? Like, why didn't I capitalize on that? But the pure answer to that is I was not ready. I was still unboxing my shit, moving across the country. I was still going through all the other things that were in the way. So I don't think that was the time. This could be the time. What else am I doing?
Yeah. And then imagine if I know I probably sound like a crazy person right now, but what if we go in another lockdown? Just imagine we go in another lockdown. And
why do you think that Biden said we're going to lift the restrictions on May 11th? If you want to do that, you lift the restrictions today because we're done.
Yeah.
Why do you pick an arbitrary date a month or two down the road? Very specifically.
I think they're going to do the lockdown again. I really do. And this time it's going to be a little bit more different. Like people, especially people who are Democrats and liberals, they're going to be like, fuck you. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm going to do this. Because they went through that whole thing. I mean, it traumatized everybody who was alive during that time. Like, it traumatized you, you know? And people are still.
What do they call it? Mass formation psychosis? Is that the phrase?
Yeah. And so you're going to get all these people saying no, but you're going to get all these people like, oh, thank God, that sounds great, you know? And then we're just going to get, to be honest, if a lockdown happened, I probably would be a little bit happy, you know, because then I'll be like, oh, okay, I could focus more on YouTube more, you know? But I guess we're getting the head start, right?
Yes, let's get the head start. We'll keep it going. Yeah, and Blake both invited me back into this world and said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I don't. Like he also kind of pushed me away too. But like, you know, it's free will. It's like devil's advocate, free will.
And I think it's better when you're working with people, you know, like Mr. B. Sorry I keep bringing him up, but I've just been so fascinated with his advice. He would have like a group of friends, and he said, we talked every single day. How can we get this like video viral? So he said, every single day we're doing this, and that they made it happen. So it's not some magical thing. It's just an algorithm we just need to crack.
It's like the movie Pi. If you can just unlock the mathematical code from the Bible, you can understand the stock market, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll probably let you go. It's been fun.
Overtime. We won. To be continued. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.